Meeting at order at 6:33 p.m. Javier, can you please do a roll? Oh, actually, before that, the Pledge of Allegiance. Um, is it your turn, Jamie?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can we get a roll call?
Commissioner Valenzuela,
Present.
Commissioner Osaeta,
Present.
Commissioner Castañeda, Vice Chair Prieto,
Present.
and Chairperson Reese.
Present.
I, Javier Barraza, Special Projects Coordinator, certify that a true and correct copy of the foregoing meeting agenda was properly posted on April 2nd, 2026, 72 hours prior to the scheduled meeting as required by law. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54952.3, disclosure of compensation for meeting attendance by the Planning Commission is $125.
Thank you. On to consent calendar. Can I get one of my colleagues to do a motion to approve the Planning Commission meeting minutes for March 17th?
Motion to approve the minutes?
A second?
Second.
Roll call?
Commissioner Osaeta,
Yes.
Commissioner Castañeda, Commissioner Valenzuela,
Yes.
Commissioner Vice Chairperson Prieto,
Yes.
and Chairperson Reese.
Yes.
Motion.
Thank you. On to public hearings. Conditional use permit number 25-06 for 8730 Garfield Avenue. Who is going to do that presentation?
I'll have that presentation.
Please proceed.
Thank you. Okay, yeah, we do have a presentation. I'll wait for that to be on the screen. But this item is a public hearing. It's for conditional use permit number 25-06. The property is located at 8730 Garfield Avenue. Yeah, the presentation? Yeah, the PowerPoint. Planning Commission will be conducting a public hearing to consider approving the conditional use permit number 25-06 to allow the sales of alcohol for an ABC license type 41 for beer and wine for on-site consumption in conjunction with an existing restaurant, Kazan Barbecue, located at 8730 Garfield Avenue, and finding that the project is categorically exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act under Section 15301, Class 1, existing facilities. Sorry. Okay. So I had a presentation scheduled, but no, it's on that. You don't have access to the key drive, do you? You don't. No. I'll go ahead and just give the presentation. Unless.
Yeah, I think we should just skip to the next item and come back. All my colleagues should be fine with that, right? All right, so moving on for now to the next item, appeal of director determination for the land use classification for proposed self laundromat at 4382 through 4390 Tweedy Boulevard. if we can go through that.
Okay. Thank you, Chairwoman, members of the Planning Commission. Gabriel Bettis, your Community Development Director. Okay, so I have a presentation on this item, which is an appeal of a director termination for proposed laundromat land use. The applicant, the background to this is the applicant proposes a 7,000 square foot full service coin operated laundromat at 4382 to 4390 Tweedy Boulevard in the TMU zone of the Tweedy Boulevard specific plan. And I just want to clarify that in your staff report, it says TMU 2 zone. It's actually the TM 1 zone. The facility would include a commercial grade washers, dryers operated by customers, staffed attendants, and accessory retail sales of laundry products. There would be no drop off or pickup service. They project 700 to 1,000 customer visits per week with typical dwell times at the facility between 60 to 90 minutes per visit. The applicant proposes this in an existing building that includes 3 contiguous storefronts that have been substantially vacant for approximately 5 years. What do I? Oh, can you go back to a couple? Okay. So this is a aerial view of the site in red. So that's the proposed location, which includes the 3 contiguous storefronts. And it's on the south west corner of Tweedy Boulevard and Alexander Avenue. We did want to depict where existing coin laundry facilities were in proximity, and there is one on the northeast corner of Alexander and Tweedy Boulevard that's called Fiesta Coin Laundry. Javier, I'm going to say next on the slides if you could help out with that because it's going back to later. Okay. All right, so here are some photos of the storefronts along Tweedy Boulevard. So you can see that they're vacant. They've had a for lease sign for quite a while. Next slide. This is an image of the side of the building along Alexander. Next slide. And some more context. It is within the Tweedy Boulevard specific plan. And what that specific plan is, it's really a planning document that guides the future development of Tweedy Boulevard. And in that document, there are special zoning districts that have been established that's very specific to Tweedy Boulevard. In this case, this site would be zoned Tweedy Boulevard mixed use zone 1. So the typical permitted uses would be mixed uses that would include residential with commercial uses. This is a primary commercial corridor for the city. So in that specific plan, it does promote more active pedestrian-oriented ground floor uses and mixed-use revitalization. There is the Fiesta Coin Laundry, as I mentioned, at 4409 Tweedy Boulevard, and it's about 250 feet away from the proposed laundry site. The applicant has mentioned they signed a 10-year lease in May of 2025. Based on what they've indicated are the reliance on staff representations, the laundromat would be permitted at the site. And I'll go into that in a little bit further. Next slide. So this is an idea of what the specific plan looks like. The specific plan has a specific boundary. So not only does it include parcels along Tweedy Boulevard, but also parcels behind Tweedy Boulevard to the next block to the north and also to the south. And I've highlighted here in red where they propose the laundromat. As you can see from the legend, it's located in the Tweedy mixed use 1 zone. Next slide. The specific plan does have a permitted uses table, as you can see here, and I did highlight what's pertinent for this proposal here. So the land use table has all the types of permitted uses that would be allowed in certain zones in the Tweedy Boulevard mixed use, the Tweedy Boulevard specific plan. So as you can see here, what are highlighted is the TMU1 zone and all the permitted uses. So either they're permitted by right, if there's an X, it's not permitted, or it requires a conditional use permit that's identified as a CUP. In this case, you could see dry cleaning / laundry agency, which we determined to be the closest use to a laundromat is identified as permitted. And then we'll go into the other highlighted use that the applicant indicates that they believe they're most similar to, which is personal services general, which is allowed by right, wouldn't require a conditional use permit. And we'll come back to this slide a little bit later. So next slide. So a little bit of background on laundromats and how that's worked in the city. And I mentioned this at the last study session that we had of the Planning Commission. So laundromats were actually specifically called out in the zoning code before 2015. 2015, that was the date that we did a comprehensive zoning update. And after 2015, you no longer see the word laundromat. But before 2015, laundromats were allowed with a conditional use permit in certain commercial zones throughout the city. So after laundromat was removed in 2015, there ended up being two new uses that were identified throughout the city, not just the Tweedy Boulevard specific plan, but throughout the city. So there were two categories that were identified that didn't exist before. One is dry cleaning laundry agency, and the other is dry cleaning laundry plant. And I'll go into what the difference is with those two designations in a bit. But I do want to identify that after some pre-application meetings with the applicant around the time frame April to May 2025, the applicant contends that planning staff confirmed that a laundromat would be permitted at the site with no size restrictions. And just keep that in mind, no size restrictions, because the size restrictions it's going to be relevant to some of the discussion presented here. In July 2025, Public Works placed a hold on the plan check pending resolution of the land use determination. Next slide. So go into the definition of that I mentioned earlier of the laundry agency versus the laundry plant. So in our municipal code, it does identify laundry agency is defined as a facility where materials are dropped off and picked up for cleaning service or cleaned on site through either conventional laundry or chemical processes, where the facility is less than 2,500 square feet and no material collected at other dry cleaning or laundry agencies are brought for cleaning. So this is kind of a unique definition. What's identified in this definition is a very specific size requirement that it doesn't exceed 2,500 square feet. And that seems to be one of the defining factors between the agency and the plant. So I'll discuss plant a little further. So the laundry plant is defined as a facility greater than 2,500 square feet, or that processes items collected from other retail locations, where clothing and similar items are cleaned through either conventional laundry or chemical processes, right? So neither of these definitions identify laundromat or coin laundry specifically, but when we're determining if a use is allowed in the code, we either identify it by the name that's very specific, or we find a very similar use in the code. In this case, for planning staff, either of these two definitions most closely resemble a laundromat, but there is some language that's kind of unique that may not be like a laundromat. So in this case of a laundry agency, it's a facility where materials are dropped off or picked up. In the case of a laundromat, you're usually visiting the site. It's a self-service site. This definition doesn't specifically say self-service. You could drop off your laundry load and pick it up after it's done. But it also could be similar to like a dry cleaning establishment or a laundry facility where they do the work for you. You drop it off or you pick it up, right? So that's where there's some ambiguity. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. And in those cases, there could be the need for an appeal of a director determination, which is the case here. So for a laundry plant, it mentions a facility greater than 2,500 square feet, or that that processes items collected from other retail locations where clothing or similar items are cleaned through either conventional laundry or chemical processes. So could this constitute conventional laundry for a laundromat? Yes, it could. Is it collected from other retail locations for laundromat? Not really. You wouldn't have that with a self-service location. But as far as a laundry plant's concerned, it would be a facility that exceeds 2,500 square feet. The applicant here, as I mentioned earlier, proposed a facility for coin laundry that's 7,000. So if you can go back 2 slides, one more. So as we go back to here, you can see what's highlighted is laundry agency. There actually is no identification of a laundry plant that's either permitted or conditionally permitted. So it's actually just omitted, right? So in order for the applicant to qualify under here, under what our interpretation would be constitutes a laundromat as an agency, they would exceed that 2,500 square foot threshold, right? They're proposing 7,000. They're not proposing anything less than that, less than 2,500 square feet. Okay, can you go a couple more slides where we were last? Okay, all right. So as far as the director's determination, so as I mentioned, we determined that the use was most similar to a laundry plant because it does exceed 2,500 square feet. It's not listed in that table of the specific plan. When staff was talking about this use, we thought there was a possibility that the laundry plant was potentially not mentioned in the specific plan intentionally because there was a possibility that this use was not encouraged in the Tweedy Boulevard specific plan and maybe didn't meet the intent of the specific plan. But this is based on either John or myself not being here at the time the specific plan was adopted. And this was back in, about 2016, John, or 2018, around that time? 15? Okay. So I do want to mention is that, I, as the director, acknowledge that there's ambiguity in the classification here. And therefore, this item is appealed to the Planning Commission. And we have conveyed that to the applicant as well. Next slide, please. Okay. So the appellant, Amelia Curian, who is here today, is challenging the director's land use determination in the code for that specific plan. And they contend that the self-service laundromat is not properly classified. As I mentioned before 2015, if we still had the laundromat defined in the code, then it would be easily fit into that category. So staff identified that it would need to fit into a dry cleaning laundry category that we have today. The appellant argues that the correct classification would be personal services general, which is a permitted right in that TMU 1 zone. So their 2 primary arguments are this, is that the use is misclassified by staff as dry cleaning laundry, and obviously the correct classification that they have identified as personal services general. Next slide. So some of their appeal justification as misclassification of the dry cleaning laundry use is that both agency and the plant definition describe a business that performs cleaning on behalf of customers where materials are dropped off and picked up by the operator. So, so they're identifying that those two definitions weren't intended for self-service, but rather that the service is conducted for customers. Also that the self-service laundromat fits neither. No items are dropped off or picked up, and that the business performs no cleaning. Customers operate the machines themselves. And that the 2,500 square foot threshold was designed to separate a drop-off retail agency from a large service plant, not to regulate self-service customer capacity. So there are some definitions of a laundry service plant in other cities in my research that identify that a plant is a drop-off location for other larger industrial businesses or hotel, that they all bring them to one location. And that's what the applicant is arguing here. So the dry cleaning laundry definitions, they've also said were drafted for full service operators, being dry cleaners or linen services, not the self-service coin operated facilities. Next slide. And what I want to present here is what is the definition of personal services. And this is what the appellant is identifying that they believe the laundromat is most similar to. And so in that definition, it says personal services means any place of business providing services and accessory retail sales of products related to the services provided. Because it's personal services general means establishments providing non-medical services to the individuals as a primary use. And we would acknowledge that there is no medical services being provided with its use. Next slide. So as part of their justification, they believe that the personal services general covers establishments providing non-medical services to individuals as primary use, with accessory retail of related products consistent with the laundromat operations that customers visit to perform a personal task, which being their laundry. The business provides commercial grade equipment that's maintained staffed in a staffed environment as a non-medical service to individuals, and that there is accessory retail such as detergent, fabric softener, similar to how barber shops sell hair products, which is common for personal services. And they provided a fitness center analogy. So fitness center is one of the uses that's considered consistent with personal services. So in a gym, they provide commercial equipment for self-operation with extended dwell time and no service by the operator. And so they believe that's an identical model to a laundromat. Next slide. So as far as the zoning code text ambiguity, I mentioned, I do believe that there's some ambiguity here in applying the laundry agency plant framework to the laundromat that's proposed here. We did reach out to a former planner that was present at that time as a senior planner in 2015 to see, what was the background to the change in 2015 and why was laundromat no longer identified in the zoning code after the change. They believed that the intent was to prohibit laundromats citywide by omitting the classification. So if you don't actually identify it in the code, then that could be considered not permitted. But he could not confirm this with certainty. So it's hard for us to identify that that's something that's certain. I do want to mention that we identified the need to create a code amendment that would identify laundromat in the code. We think it would be appropriate to identify it very directly, and that it would be a CUP with the distance separation that we mentioned at the last Planning Commission meeting. But the adoption of that ordinance would be months away. But we do want to acknowledge there is the ambiguity. We think we need to act to modify the code to make it very clear for the public. If we were to adopt the proposed amendment, the proposed laundromat wouldn't comply with that ordinance as it's currently drafted because it would be within 2,500 square feet of another laundromat. But we haven't adopted the code yet, so that doesn't have any relevance to this discussion other than that's something that we are studying right now with the Planning Commission. Next slide. As far as consistency with the Tweedy Boulevard specific plan, the applicant did provide some justification to show why their laundromat would be consistent. And they've indicated that the project would activate 4 contiguous storefronts that have been vacant for quite a while on the corridor, and that there's other vacant storefronts along Tweedy Boulevard with the projected visits of 700 to 1,000 visits a week, and the dwell time is 60 to 90 minutes. They think that would support sustained pedestrian activity and ancillary commercial vitality that meets our specific plan goals, that it would just serve the central daily needs for a high density renter majority neighborhood with limited access to laundry facilities. And then it would be a modern attended facility with transparent storefront and high quality finishes that would be consistent with specific plan standards for ground floor commercial design. Next slide, please. So in conclusion, I do want to mention, I do acknowledge there's some ambiguity here. So when there's an ambiguity in the code, there's the necessity for the director to make a determination. In that determination, we identified the closest use that we felt a laundromat would be close to would be the personal services general classification, or the dry cleaning laundry plant. In this case, it couldn't be. I'm sorry. Let me get that right. I'm sorry. The commission actually, you must determine if it's the closest to personal services general, which they've identified. They believe that's the closest similar use. And under that scenario, they would be able to get a permit and operate their laundry facility. Or you identify it as a dry cleaning laundry plant that, the planning division has identified. If it's identified as a laundry plant, then they would not be able to open up in that facility. So there was a resolution that was prepared in as an attachment to your staff report. That resolution is for denial of the appeal. So we typically would prepare a denial in the case where we've made a determination in a specific way. In this case, the determination was that this is more similar to a dry cleaning laundry agency or a plant. But if the Planning Commission were to grant the appeal, then we would bring back a new resolution to the Planning Commission at the next Planning Commission meeting. So really what the Planning Commission we need to do here is determine if they agree with the appellant. If you do agree with it, then we would bring back that resolution to the next Planning Commission meeting. If you do disagree and agree with the direct determination, then you would just approve a resolution that's been provided to you as an attachment. And that's the end of my staff report. The applicant is in the audience, and I believe they have a presentation for the Planning Commission.
Thank you. Can the applicant come up, please, and state your name?
Dear Honorable Commissioners, my name is Dmitry Kazakov. I'm an architect, lead architect and CEO of KDI International, the National Full Service Architectural and Engineering firm. And I'm here on behalf of the owner of this project. The project is owner, the name of the business is Aqualoop Laundromat LLC, and the owner is Eric Baruch. So we're here to ask for
Can
your...
you repeat your name? Sorry, I didn't catch your name.
Dmitry Kazakov.
Okay, thank you.
Push this. Okay, so we're here to ask for your kind approval for the proper classification of the use for the business model that we're proposing. And what we're proposing, and actually Gabriel already covered most of the stuff that I'm going to talk about, but I would like to emphasize on some certain bullet points of the same thing. So what we're proposing is a 7,094 square feet full service laundromat, which will be located on 4390 Tweety Boulevard. So the property, as Gabriel already mentioned, is located within the Tweety Boulevard specific plan. And on that specific plan, I guess it's part of the specific plan classification. So when we originally applied for it to the planning department, we had several staff planners that we discussed it, and the planning department classified it as a dry cleaning laundry, which it's categorized by the following programmatic categories of Southgate Municipal Code, Section 1160-070. So where it's separated between agency and the plant. So agency means the facility where materials are dropped off and picked up for cleaning service, or cleaned on site through either conventional laundry or chemical process. And the agency is supposed to be less than 2,500 square feet. So no material is collected at other dry cleaning or laundry agencies and brought for cleaning. So the cleaning or laundry facilities that are greater than 2,500 square feet, or that clean items collected at other dry cleaning or laundry agencies, are considered cleaning or laundry plants. So those are two definitions that planning department was classifying. And none of these definitions apply to what we are proposing. I'm just going to repeat what Gabriel said, but that's important to understand. So what we're proposing is a self-service laundromat, which is more classified, what we believe it's classified as a personal service general, which will allow us to have the 7,000 square foot facility at the proposed location. So the reason for it is because neither dry cleaning agency or plant provide personal self-services. Both mostly operate as pickup and drop-off locations, one for individual customers and another one for businesses. Our business model is full self-service, where customers come, do their laundry, stay in the facility for about 60 to 90 minutes and leave. I would like also to bring the analogy as, for example, fitness center. The fitness center is a place which is also classified.
Excuse me?
Yes.
I was going to say, do you want us to follow this on a slide anywhere, or no?
I mean, not necessarily. I mean,
Okay. Just wanted to make
we
sure.
can go back on the slides, but I would like to just emphasize on certain bullet points. Slides are not, it's just a presentation material.
Okay, sorry about that.
So fitness center is also classified as a personal service, where customers also use equipment. They come for about 60 to 90 minutes and leave. And it's exactly the same as what we're proposing as a self-service laundromat. The only difference is the equipment in the building. So, for example, when a person comes and uses the treadmill, it is equally as the person comes and uses the washing machine. So the we also did some neighboring city comparison, and most of the cities around the area, Huntington Park, Los Angeles, Maywood, Paramount, Downey, Commerce, City of Commerce, Sacramento, are classifying laundromats separately from plants. And none of the cities impose this size cap. So Southgate is pretty much the only city that still has the size cap restriction. So I guess, again, I would like to reiterate that we are proposing self-service laundromat, which is not classified in the current code of municipal code. And in this self-service laundromat, it has to be, I mean, I would like to have you guys approve it as a general service agency. I'm sorry, not general service agency. What is it called? So personal service general. So now with that, I would like to give microphone to Emilia Kushkirian, who is the developer of automated laundry systems, and she's going to talk about laundry systems as a business. What kind of model of business we're proposing?
Hello and good evening to everyone. My name is Emilia Kuskarian and I work with
Can you speak into the mic, please?
automated laundry system for more than 25 years. Our company developed multiple stores in California, Arizona, and Nevada, but we were very, we developed, I think the most of our focus was California. The location at Tweedy Boulevard was introduced to us by Reliable Property Group as a potential site that a laundry facility could be built. And once we have the location identified, we have to go through a process and approve the location. So there's a specific process that for us is very important to follow. So we identify that this location is the right size, we have the right size, the right demographics, the right accessibility. So when we went and we visited the site, we saw that this is a corner building of Tweedy and Alexander, has a very good visibility and accessibility. There is a sufficient parking in the back. And the next step was to pull a demographics for the area to see, for us it's very important to see how many people are living in the 1 mile radius, 2 miles, and 3 miles. We think that most customers would come from this particular areas, up to 3 miles. People don't like to drive very fast. So when we pulled the demographics, we saw that the demographics are very, very good. We had almost 100,000 people within a mile. For us, very important is that average household size, which was 2.9%, which is also very good. We look for also another ethnicity. That particular area was 92% Hispanic. And we felt very comfortable that this location might work very well for to build a laundromat. Another very important factor for us was the competition. There was a store across the street which we consider to a certain extent as a competition, but just being a very old store with outdated equipment, not very just pleasant environment, we figured that that's just a laundromat that would stay there probably for years, but most of the clients will come to our store, to the new development. I just want to bring to your attention that in 2015, we finished a project, very large store, our company, at 9434 Long Beach Boulevard. It's a freestanding building, used to be a mortuary. We purchased the building and we developed a laundromat. I went to visit the store. Even though it's a 10 years old store, it looks very nice. It's a freestanding building with a lot of parking, and it's kept in very good condition. So that is one example that the stores that our company builds, they don't age because we use the high quality products. I just wanted to mention that because at that time when we build the stores, we don't have to deal with this issue of, and obviously that was in a different area. At 2015, I think the city didn't have this classification. Basically, we submitted the drawings and our project was approved. Within a year, we finished it. 8 months, we finished it. So going back to the Tweedy Boulevard, once we identified that this is a very good location for the laundromat, the next step was for us to go to the city and find out if the laundromat is approved use for that particular location. I personally went twice to the city. First time was I met, unfortunately, the same person, and I was told twice the same thing, that the laundromat is permitted and there are no restrictions. I asked specifically if there are any restrictions. I went from the very beginning, and I went a day before our investor, Eric Baruch, has to sign the lease, because the lease that he signed was for 10 years with 2 5-year options. We're talking about 20-year lease. So that was a very big commitment from him, and I wanted to make sure that we're not going to have any issues. And I was told, she opened the computer, she turned to me and said, yes, the laundromat is approved. And Eric went, signed the lease, we engaged the architect, he prepared the drawings, and we submitted the drawings to the city. At the same day when I submitted the drawings, I went and I spoke with Public Works, and I asked them what they would need from us. I said, we have to wait for planning department, but what do you need from us? And I spoke with the gentleman from planning. He says, I would need 3 copies of your first page of the drawings. I said, I have those. I submitted those. I paid $780 fee, and I left those with the planning department. Oh, I'm sorry, with Public Works. When we electronically emailed the drawings to planning, we were told that it's going to take 3 to 4 weeks for them to come back to us. The 3-week passed. We didn't hear back from planning, and I received a call from Public Works. And the gentleman from the Public Works told me, unfortunately, we have to refund your deposit because they issued planning department. You have to talk with them. Until to that moment, we didn't hear back from planning department. And I said, can you be more specific? He says, no, you have to speak with them. So I personally came and I spoke, and I wanted to find out what is the issue. And I was told that basically we cannot have a laundromat larger than 5,000 square feet. So I said, 5,000, why this was communicated to us now, but not from the beginning? So I left. I said, what are the options here? He says, no, we're going to deny your project. So the third time, I called the architect and I said, Dimitri, you have to come with me. We need to go to the city and figure this out. So we're going back to the city, and apparently it was not 5,000, it was 2,500 square feet. So basically 3 times we were giving wrong information. So we asked what the options are. You said, basically you cannot build a laundromat. And I said, how is this possible? Why the person behind the counter didn't communicate this to us, that there's a size restriction or there would be other issues? They said, I'm sorry, we can't answer that question. And we left. So we are approaching almost a year, because our drawings were submitted back in June, July, and now we are July of 2025, and we are April of 2026, and we still don't know if our project will be approved or not. So I just want to speak. This is the story of our journey, but I just want to mention to you about the laundromat that we are planning to build. It's a large store, 7,000 square feet. We would be installing approximately 70 washers and 40 dryers. We consider a laundromat is a personal service, self-service laundromat that people go with their families. They spend a lot of time. I don't want to repeat, this was already said, that they spend 60 to 90 minutes. We think that building, that project on that corner would bring a lot of, not only in addition to the traffic, will bring a lot of foot traffic. People would be going out shopping. They would be going to the coffee shop, restaurants, and that would change the whole neighborhood substantially. I know that we're dealing with the issue of the code here, but I'm sure that that could be just, I don't want to say ignore, but to a certain extent, if we consider this as a self-service laundromat or personal service, this could be easily approved. And I am strongly just asking for your consideration to approve this facility. I think we presented some pictures of the laundromat that we built. We have a store that's similar size. This is the store that we built a year ago in North Hollywood. It's a similar size, 7,000 square feet. As you see, it's has a lot of folding tables. It's very spacious. People feel very comfortable. It has a huge storefront, which basically would be similar to the laundromat on Tweedy. I think, do we have more pictures or only these four? Oh, and this is the proposed actually layout of Tweedy stores. As you see, we have the washers in the middle. We have the dryers on both sides, a lot of folding tables. We'll have also a snack vending machines. But a lot of families, they go out, they buy food, they go back to the laundromat. This is the store that I'm talking about in North Hollywood. And this is the interior of the proposed location at Tweedy. That's what the building looks like, the one on Tweedy Boulevard. It has a similar high ceiling with a lot of open space. It has a huge storefront also. Do you have any questions?
Should we open it up to public comment first?
Oh, we have the owner also.
Oh,
And the landlord also wants to say a few words.
okay. You can please come up and state your name on the mic.
Greg, would this be part of the public comment, or could they present without timing it? Okay. Okay, thanks.
Hi, hello everybody. Eric Baruch, I'm the owner. I'm the investor that's about to open that laundromat, hopefully. And if we can go back to slide number 6, will be financial commitment at stake. That's the biggest item for me. Yeah, that's it there. So as you can see, again, I'm the sole proprietor of that projected project. I already committed, I'm already paying $13,000 a month for rent. Okay, I already put in escrow $400,000 for that project. It's already sitting from last year. Okay, $90,000 for a project engineer to help with this process that we have right now, etc. $44,000 in security deposit for the place, and $9,000 in insurance. Those are only ongoing expenses. As you can see on the right, the total commitment for this project, the cost will be more than $3 million. So I already committed to all those. I put the money and everything got on hold. I was promised last year that we will finish within 3 months, whatever, and then put the money, sign the lease on those promises. Yeah. I'm not a speculator. I am committed to a 20-year lease, and I plan to be here on the long term. I'm already operating laundromat outside of this area successfully. One of them is about the same size of this one. When I opened with 2 competitors across the street, one of them 4,000 square feet and the other one 2,000. The 4,000 was very old, meanwhile got renewed, remodeled, totally brand new, and we all doing good. Okay, so just to put in perspective. Yeah. If we can go to the next slide. Okay, part of my job before I do that, I have to do the diligence and to check the market. Okay, so this is just to show you this table compare laundromat supply across 6 gateway cities. Okay, the one around us. Look at the demographics. Southgate is 95% Hispanic. Again, everything is coming from public records and the census. 95% Hispanic, 55% renters, with a median income of $75,000. These are families who need laundromats. Okay, those are the customers that typically require to have the laundromat. The last column is the one that matters: square feet per 1,000 rented household. Okay, so how many square feet available for those households in their neighborhood? Yeah, and people don't go to 10 miles to do laundry; they need it in their immediate neighborhood. Yeah, so Southgate right now is 1927, and even with the new laundromat that we will open, we will reach 2,400 square feet per 1,000 families. This is still below, if you look at, again, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing the last name of the city correct, Kudai, I don't know if that's that city stands at 3,000 square feet per 1,000 customers, okay? Yeah? And you see that Southgate is there, 1927. Now with this additional laundromat, this $7,000 square feet that we propose, we will reach 2,400 square feet. Okay, we will still be below. Okay, now this is overall on Southgate. If you will look at below that, if we're talking only about Tweedy Corridor, okay, the immediate area of the laundromat, because again, laundromat doesn't serve very miles around. It's only for people living within 1 mile of the laundromat. I'm not expecting people to come 5 miles away to my laundromat. Okay, it's only for the people that living in that specific neighborhood, okay? So looking at this specific neighborhood right now, there are 2 laundromats, the one across the street and another one, total of 4,000 square feet, okay? That means 500 square feet per 1,000 families, okay? Very, very underserved. That's one of the reasons I came here, because I saw the potential for very underserved market. I don't know where there's people going right now. If I walk to that Fiesta across the street, when I walked there the first time, I went out immediately. The smell was terrible, okay? The conditions were terrible. Customer, it's just, I don't know where customer go again. So this is the situation. And even with the new 7,000 square feet, we're talking only about 1,375. There is more room for more laundromats to come to there, okay? It's very underserved market, okay? So right now we're neglecting all these families that living there, okay? And I think this family on my stretch of Tweedy have the lowest rate laundromat in this city as their only walkable option. They deserve better, and I'm ready to provide it. That's the bottom line, okay? So thank you very much, and I think the owner of the property will want to say a few words.
Thank you.
Oh, I provided you with two handouts just before I leave, okay? One of them is in the second page, you will see that more details of these slides, okay, that explain, and also just in case, okay, because I also provide how we calculated all the numbers in this presentation, all the statistics, where I got the information from. Everything is public record, so if you want, you can go and verify those numbers and see, the comparison to other cities as far as square feet and as far as laundromats availability and serving to the customer. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. I know you've heard a lot of speeches and information about this.
If you can state your name.
My name is Samuel Narafshan. I'm representing Reliable Properties. They're the owner of the building here. We have the property at Tweedy and Alexander that we're discussing for the laundromat use. We also own the building next door, which we went ahead and was also vacant for 5 years, that we went ahead and brought Hub Cities to come and open into the city of Southgate, providing jobs and a place for the community to go. We also own and manage the shopping center at Long Beach and Palm Boulevard, the Northgate Shopping Center. I'm sure you guys have been there. The El Pollo Loco, CVS, which also has a coin laundry in that shopping center as well. So I just want to say my perspective is from attracting businesses and customers to the city of Southgate. We want to go ahead and have not empty properties and, boarded up windows and places that homeless come and cause problems for the buildings and the residents in the area. No, that's not what we want. We want to go ahead and attract businesses and customers, places that families could go, places that you could go ahead and go with your friends, places that you could go ahead and grab a coffee, go ahead and do your laundry in this instance. So I just want to say we should be welcoming businesses to open up in our city that we all love and care so much about. And I want to say thank you to Eric to go ahead and taking the time to go ahead and invest, $500,000 into opening up into the city of Southgate alone, plus all the money he's going to have to spend in equipment. He's going to be in this location spending $3 million coming from where investment can go in other cities, but he's decided to go ahead and bring that $3 million into the city of Southgate, and we should be very appreciative of that. So thank you, Eric, as well. So something in our discussions, we've been working with the planning department and community development for quite some time on this building that has been vacant for 5 years. We spoke with the city manager as well with Gabriel and John, and we discussed that the Tweedy corridor, that Tweedy mile that we all know and love, is approximately 70% vacant. So there's definitely a lack of businesses opening in the area on the Tweedy mile. So we need to go ahead and have businesses open there. And in this instance, Aqualand has went ahead and done their market research. How Eric has just mentioned that the area is underserved for coin laundry. They're expecting 1,000 people a week to go ahead and come and wash their clothes and clean clothes. Everybody wants clean clothes. They don't want to smell and be gross. They want to go ahead and have clean clothes. So, 1,000 people a week coming, that's not just one person, a father going or a mother going. It's a mother with her kids, a teenager with their friends all going to do their laundry, our grandmothers and grandfathers going ahead and doing their laundry. So it's going to come in multiples, not just 1,000 people. And that's 1,000 people a week. That's 50,000 people a year. Over the course of their 10-year lease, that's 500,000 people who live in the city of Southgate, not coming from other cities, who live in that 2-3 mile radius, going ahead and washing their clothes at this location. And the good thing about that we spoke with the city manager who agreed on this, and Gabriel also pointed out, they're not going to just come wash their clothes, okay, bye, and leave. They're going to go wash their clothes, go to the Wings house across the street. They're going to go ahead and go to the coffee shop down the street. They're going to go to the bank across the street, go ahead and make a deposit there. They're going to go ahead and revitalize this Tweedy mile that, doesn't really have any really life into it right now. And in our discussions, I think the reason why it may have been omitted is, quite frankly, I don't know why, honestly. And so I just want to go ahead and touch base on the size requirement. I know that, it's capped at 2,500 because of the ambiguity, because it's not mentioned in the code. I understand that, but this is definitely not a plant. The reason why they went ahead and said no plants, no dry cleaning, because dry cleaning, you drop off your stuff, you leave. You're not staying there for an hour, hour and a half to go ahead and wash your clothes. You drop your stuff up and bye. A plant is the same thing. A plant closes their doors to the public. I can't walk into a plant and wash my clothes. It's only for hotels and restaurants and big, large companies that need to wash uniforms and towels and sheets to come drop their stuff off, leave, and they go ahead and deliver it and wash it. So that's more of an industrial use. This is a retail use, a professional services, personal services use. People come, they hang out, they go ahead and do their laundry, hour and a half, go get their nails done across the street. So they're going to go ahead and be here for a long time. And the reason why they need that larger size, they did their market study. There's going to be 50,000 people a year coming here to wash their clothes. They can't sit on each other. They can't wait 2-3 hours to use the machine. They need to have plenty of machines available. Obviously, we're well aware it costs money to go ahead and put this equipment in. Eric is going to have to spend money for more equipment on a bigger space, but he realizes that he has to go ahead and do that because the demand is there. Thank God they go ahead and run a nice, clean operation, modern look. It's not an old, smelly laundromat with old equipment from 30 years ago that's loud and shaking and doesn't really work too well. They have to wash it 3 times for it to clean your clothes. No, it's a nice, clean operation, modern operation. So we want to go ahead and push this forward. We need to push this project forward. This building has been vacant for way too long. Approving this use at this size will go ahead and breathe life into Tweedy Mile. It will go ahead and attract more businesses to come into the area. All these other vacancies, you'll you will go ahead and see them fill up. A business wants to open in a city. They don't want to open up where there's no other businesses or nobody around. They want to go ahead and see a lot of businesses. They want to see a thriving retail environment. And I think that's what this business will go ahead and do for the city of Southgate as well. So I appreciate all your assistance. John and Gabriel, thank you for your help throughout this process. And to the commission, I hope you guys go ahead and approve this project. And thank you very much for your time, and I wish you guys all the best. Thank you. And I would like to invite Ariel Baruch to go ahead and say a few words as well. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
My name is Ariel Baruch. I'm Eric Baruch's daughter and operations manager for Aqualoop. Thanks for sharing your time with us. I have a business management economics degree from UC Santa Cruz and am currently enrolled in the accounting certification program at UCLA Extension. I've had the privilege of being a part of my family's laundromat business and currently manage our location in Canoga Park. My father touched on the demographic here being 95% Latino, which I've been looking forward to tend to, being that my mother is from El Salvador and because of my fluency in Spanish. Our Canoga Park location has a predominantly Latino demographic as well. I found that the ability to have staff and managerial abilities in Spanish speaking enables us to cultivate a safe and community-oriented environment. And I would personally be on site at the Southgate location full-time. Other laundromats today, they struggle because of busy weekends and empty weekdays, skyrocketing utilities, we've all seen that, and only being able to afford part-time coverage, which negatively affects the customer experience, especially at night when a customer might feel uneasiness being left alone. But with our business model, we have 24-hour staffing, 2 to 3 attendants during peak hours, card and app payment options, modern Maytag equipment, and remarkably clean facilities at all times. Our 24-hour Canoga Park location has been serving its community for 12 years. The maintenance and care by our team plays an integral role in our success. It still looks like a new laundromat. We have 4.5 stars on Google with 395 reviews, and the majority highlight the exceptionally clean facilities and the friendly service they receive from our staff. And we have an awesome staff. With all of these factors considered, we are across the street from 2 existing laundromats, and all 3 of us are thriving. In fact, the largest one has recently remodeled and is busy. A quality operator doesn't displace competitors, it simply raises the bar for everyone. And I'm confident that that's what Aqualoop would do for Tweedy Boulevard. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any public comments in the audience? If you can please come up, state your name. You will have a 3-minute limit. Huh? Or are you presenting with the applicant?
No, not presenting.
Okay.
Comment.
If there's any more public comments, if you can please line up so we can get an idea.
If there are any more public comments?
Any more
Related to
public
this
comments,
item.
if you can just get in line to the left-hand side here so we can continue to.
I just want to say something on behalf of the client. Do I do it now or after?
You could do it now, but yeah, it would have to be for this subject. But yeah,
Hello.
if you could state your name.
Hello, everyone. My name is Bradley, and I'm a real estate professional in the city of Southgate. My background is in real estate and public policy, planning, and development. To be honest, I don't understand why the city is preventing Aqualoop Laundry from opening an approximately 7,000 square foot laundromat in the city of Southgate. There is no justification as to why a 2,500 square foot laundry should be allowed and not a 7,000 laundry, for it has no negative impact on the city of Southgate. It will create more jobs, generate sales tax for the city, generate more foot traffic for nearby businesses, and provide a much needed, necessary personal service for the residents of the city of Southgate. Tweedy Boulevard has so much potential, and the city is restricting tenants from opening, which will only result in more and more vacancies on Tweedy. Keep in mind, the space has been vacant for over 5 years. Further, the city staff represented that an approximately 7,000 square foot laundromat is permitted at this location. We should truly be thankful that the Aqualoop team is willing to open a laundromat at this location and invest millions of dollars in order to provide laundry services to the community. Please approve the tenant's request. We all have the same goal of helping the city of Southgate community and making it a better place. Thank you all for your time and consideration.
Thank you. The next commenter can please step up. Oh, I think you would go behind.
Yes. My name is Art Castellum, and I just wanted to, in conclusion, I wanted to thank Gabriel and his staff. They spent an enormous amount of time with us trying to help us out and trying to figure out how we could have this laundromat based on the current code. And the code is confusing. And so it was because of their recommendation and everything they tried to help us that we're here before you today. And we hope that you do see it in your heart to be able to help this family and this laundromat be able to be built there and define it as a personal services so that they will be able to build their facility and help with the Tweedy area. Tweedy Boulevard area without the people they're going to bring in. And again, I just want to thank Gabriel and the staff for the professionalism and everything they tried to do to help us, but their hands were tied, and we understand that. So they recommended that we come before you because you were the only body that would be able to give us the authority to go ahead and build it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next commenter.
My name is Kumud Patel, and I'm from the Fiesta Coin Laundry across the street. I'm opposing for this one. First of all, my laundromat is not dirty as they describe. They say it's smelly. I have the right now cameras going on. I can show you. It's completely looking nice and beautiful laundromat. Also, in past, I wanted to build some laundromat on like California and stuff, and I came to city first before buying or committing to anyone for anything. Ask that is the laundromat is permitted on that premises or not. That's what my first step. Always I come to city and ask for that. And also I saw that for the proposed site, the parking behind the property is the Tweedy Mile city parking. So I'm just generally for any laundromat business, there is a 200 or 250 square feet, you need one parking for the customer. So according to that, they don't have enough parking unless they use the city park. So this is what I want to tell. So I'm opposing for this one because it's going to affect both of us because it's right across the street. And yeah, they are telling that we do have a lot of customer, but also you have to consider that that area is little bit higher income area. So lot of customer, they have the washer and dryer at home too. So we don't have that many like customers to come and wash all the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Any written comments submitted?
There is an email from Mr. Dominguez. We summarized it with AI, and he says, please approve the conditional use permit and support the applicant's appeal for the laundromat on Tweedy Boulevard. Our community needs more laundry options, and this project would provide a convenient service for residents. Tweedy Boulevard would benefit from a clean, modern business that improves the corridor. I have a couple of questions for the applicant. Will the laundromat include amenities like 4K Ultra HD televisions with DirecTV? And would you consider allowing a mural on the east wall? I encourage these enhancements to improve customer experience and add much needed art to the community.
Any other comments?
That's it.
Thank you. Do my colleagues have any question before we bring up the applicant to answer? Oh, go ahead, Vice Chair.
I just wanted to thank the applicant for coming to our city and investing in our community. I think a laundromat is much needed. I'm not too far away from this proposed area, and I am also a customer of the Fiesta Coin Laundry, and I will say I go there often to wash my pet supplies, and it's always full. There's always no parking, and I tend to park in the back, and it's also city parking, and it's always very crowded. So there is a lot of need for a laundromat in our community. I don't know quite the specifics of what happened, but it's kind of disturbing to hear that this has been the journey for this laundromat. So my question to staff is, how are we supporting these businesses, these new businesses coming to our community, and why hasn't this been resolved?
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. So this item, obviously the applicant contends that planning staff gave them direction that their proposed laundromat, the size that they're proposing, wouldn't be permitted. I investigated it after this item came to me many months after that happened, because it's probably been a year journey that they've indicated. So when this came to my attention, maybe 4 months ago, I did talk to staff about it. Staff, they indicated to me that they never made those representations to the applicant, right? In my conversation with them, in our meeting with them, so our determination is that, I mentioned that there's some ambiguity in the code. If it identified the laundromat was permitted by right with the CUP, we would tell them to proceed with that. In this case, because the code was changed, it's a little bit like not very specific in terms of how this could be approved in the city. So the most similar use would be the laundry plant or the laundry agency. Because it's more than 7,000 square feet, it would fall into a plant, and therefore wouldn't be permitted. Their case that they're saying that they believe we're making the wrong determination, the applicant does have the ability to appeal that, and the appeal body is you as the Planning Commission, right? So even though our determination is there, we do acknowledge there's some ambiguity in terms of how this use is defined in the code. I would prefer there would be identification that it's a laundromat. That's why we're proposing the code amendments to Planning Commission and Council. But that hasn't been adopted yet, so that's not going to help them in this case. So it is before you as the appeal board. You have the ability to look at their justification and see if it's a use that could be permitted. But we definitely want to encourage businesses on Tweedy Boulevard as long as it conforms with the specific plan.
And my last question was, they mentioned their application was originally denied. So are there any additional fees, or will they incur anything additional to resubmit the application? Or has that already happened?
No, that hasn't. So they would need to submit plans to building for like their tenant improvements. And I think there were some public works requirements. So they would still need to do that. I'm not sure how long that would take. It shouldn't be a long process because they're not building like new structures or a lot of construction improvements, but a lot of it's going to be installing equipment, probably installing new fixtures. So it shouldn't be a long process. I think they assumed that was going to be months. It's not a long time.
You would have to speak on the microphone. But yeah, it might be better to get everybody's question and then we can direct them to you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah, go ahead.
I guess I'll echo my colleagues' sentiments here. I want to thank the business for their interest in coming to Southgate and investing in our community. But I also want to make sure I thank the Fiesta Coin Laundry for your long commitment to our city, because I know you've been here many, many, many years and doing a great service to our residents. One of the things that comes to mind is that it's not a matter of whether we want business to come into Southgate. It's a matter of whether they're aligned with the municipal code for specific areas. As one of the speakers mentioned, on Long Beach Boulevard, it was relatively easy to start that, at the mortuary because, it wasn't on Tweedy Mile, and certain municipal code didn't apply to that respective location. A couple of things that come to mind as I was kind of hearing the comments and the information provided is that the municipal code, I think what's not in question is the size. It has to be under 2,500 square feet, right? Unless there's a stretch of considering this a personal service general, I think that's a far stretch comparing this to a gym facility or anything along those lines. The other thing is I think that is the guiding light for staff and for the commission is the municipal code. Now, I think staff have made it very clear that there's some ambiguity there that needs to be ironed out. And I think the staff have taken the step to try to iron that out. We just had a meeting last planning commission to try to get that rectified. Now, I will say this, that, that might be after the fact. I guess one other thing that I would ask to staff here is that, it looks like you've done some research. You went back and investigated, this matter with previous staff. I'm sure you looked for documentation that referenced that or was communicated to the applicant. Was there any documentation that the applicant provided that stated that staff had provided that direction to them?
Commissioner, in this case, there wasn't. That's something that I would look for, that there's something in writing, because that's definitely proof. So a lot of that was verbal, but unless I'm mistaken, but it was verbal.
So for me, I think that's the guiding light is the municipal code. And, I think the unfortunate situation here is that you've gone through this whole process. I think if I'm correct, you mentioned you submitted this back in July. We're now in April, several months have gone by. There's been expenses that have been incurred by the applicant. I'm just curious to see why it took so long to bring it back to, or bring it to the appeal process in regards to the commission, because I would think time is money. And as an investor and as a business owner, I think they're about chopping at the bits trying to get this to us. So maybe some clarity on that front. Is it the applicant that didn't submit the appeal, or was it staff that wasn't prepared to kind of move this along to the commission?
I don't have the complete information on that, because I think there was some time after the determinations were made where they would have to develop their plans and then submit them. And I think that's what they tried to do. I mentioned they submitted plans to Public Works. It was kicked back because when planning reviewed it, they didn't identify like this can't be permitted at that site because of the specific plan. And, I think there was probably some back and forth with city staff, and eventually to the point where it came to me. So that did take some time. And I think it was maybe about four months ago where it came to my attention. We were trying to identify, well, what's the path for them, right? There was only two paths that this could go, considering determination we made on the business, is that they could either appeal the staff determination on this, and this would go to Planning Commission, or they could have filed for a variance. And so the variance would be requesting an exception from that 2,500 square foot limitation. So Planning Commission would have to approve it, but it would have to be based on some kind of hardship findings. In my opinion, it would be harder to make those hardship findings. It would probably be easier for them to go to Planning Commission as an appeal to our determination, just because we felt that there was some ambiguity and you could make your case to the Planning Commission.
Thank you. Yeah, and I just want to make sure that out of transparency is that, when this came to us, I had a good conversation with staff and just to get more clarity on where we were, right? Because I think there's always more, in the details when you go through the entire packet that was provided. So I really want to make sure I thank staff and even the applicant for submitting all the documentation. And, I think that to me goes back to the municipal code and the intention of, setting the precedent if we start deviating from that for other businesses as we move forward, because I do anticipate, and we're seeing that there is more businesses interested in returning or even coming to Southgate. And if we start opening up floodgates because we're deviating from municipal code because of certain processes, I think that sets an unfortunate precedent to the city and future business moving forward. It kind of would put our staff in a very difficult position moving forward. But I do want to make sure I acknowledge the ambiguity that does exist in the documentation and just the current municipal code. But those are just my comments. Thank you.
Commissioner Valenzuela?
Yes, thank you again for coming towards, I do think that it's great to know that you're trying to bring in business to the city of Southgate. Just kind of following what Commissioner Saswata said, I'm more concerned about the municipal code as we were learning in the last session, something we're trying to stay close to, right? I think for me, the concern is, setting precedent on something that later on, again, other businesses can come, say the same thing. Not that I'm saying that what they went through was not the best process, right? I do think that's messed up that they've waited, this process has taken this long. However, right, I think making exceptions will put us in a difficult situation, put staff in a difficult situation in the future. So I think I'm still processing that part. I'm still also trying to figure out, and correct me if I'm wrong, the classification piece of what it's coming through now, right, as a different classification. I'm still trying to process that. How is that still different from the municipal code, right, that we still have to follow? Like, I still have questions on that.
If I can answer, the issue here is the applicant wants to open a laundromat, and laundromat is not defined in the code. So the first step is that the director gets to decide, well, we don't have a box for a laundromat. Which box does it go into? He's made the determination that a laundry plant, and given the size, is what this falls into. And since a laundry plant is not allowed in the 20 mile zone, the use is denied. He's made that determination. They've appealed it. So now it goes to you. You get to determine, is it a laundry plant or is it a public service? And it's really, I wouldn't define it as deviating from the code. I would define it as it's your job to determine which part of the code this falls into. So it's again, the director made a determination. It's been appealed. So you're the appellate court. You get to decide which definition you believe this falls under the code. And there are going to be future amendments to the code which will clarify it, but we can't take those into account right now because that's not part of the code. We have to work with the code that we have right now.
Thank you.
So unfortunately, the decision is yours.
I get that. I mean, it still falls under the fact that it's still under a municipal code that's still under 2,100 square feet for me, that I'm still processing it.
If you determine that this is
exactly.
a laundry agency or laundry plant instead of a personal
Right,
service.
which this is something that, again, I'm still processing. So thank you for clarifying that.
Thank you. To me, this all goes back to the wording. I agree with Commissioner Oseta that, we do have to follow code. Unfortunately, in this instance, we all agree that it's very ambiguous. And to me, if we follow the letter of the code, it's not really applicable. Plant or agency, environmental assessments, as an environmental science working in environmental assessments, to me, when I would do my research on properties and see laundry agency, laundry plant, to me, that usually was related to dry cleaning facilities or major operations. Both plant to me really did have to deal with something that was of a greater magnitude, a bigger facility that wasn't doing on-site laundry service. So I get that, and I kind of see why it doesn't really focus on on-site laundry activities. So to me, the applicant, I agree with the applicant that plant doesn't really apply because like I said, through my work on environmental assessments, I wouldn't see a laundromat as a plant, unless it was like somebody or a facility that actually did that for several clients or bigger clients, like, you know, hospitals, that type of, or washing service for uniforms and such. So I agree with them, and I think that, you know, this is really our mistake as a city for not having that clarity in our code. As for, you know, what was said when it was said, you know, I think it's unfortunate that we have to go, you know, through hearsay. So I don't know if I can take that into account. But if I base my decision on what the municipal code says, I kind of agree with the applicant that I don't really consider them a plant just because it doesn't say that they are doing on-site laundry services. And so based on that, I mean, the closest thing that I can see being applicable to this is unfortunately agency, even though it has that square foot limit, which I believe, you know, everybody says nobody even knows why it's there. And it's really unfortunate. And I know that now you know, you see that mistake in the code, and that's why, you know, we're like, you know, you said we're looking into changing that and making it more clear because of that ambiguity. But I think it really does do a disservice to the applicant. And to me, I have many other questions related to, you know, what the owner of the Fiesta facility across the street, or the Fiesta laundromat across the street said, related to the parking, related to the parking requirements, whether that's even going to be something that's feasible. I don't know if that's something we can consider. Because I believe our focus is just whether or not.
The focus is just what use type a laundromat falls under, whether it falls under a laundry agency or a laundry plant or a personal service business. And that's the only question that's before you right now.
Yeah, so I appreciate your comment and you being here, because to me that was a question, just as somebody who lives in the immediate vicinity, you know, how other people felt about having two competing stores there, and how that was possible. But I guess, you know, you guys were grandfathered in before all the changes were made in municipal code and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, I appreciate the applicant's investment in our community. I appreciate Fiesta's long-term service to our community as well. But I think, you know, based on our job here, to whether, you know, what this project falls under, I do agree with the applicant that to me the closest thing is the agency. And so I hate to disagree with you with our staff, but I think, you know, it was really unfortunate. You know, you guys were handed down just this really poorly worded municipal code that you guys are now going back and fixing. So I appreciate that work.
Add something just for clarity. I don't think the applicant, if I'm hearing you correctly, is arguing whether it's an agency or plant. They're now saying that it's a personal services general classification. Is that's what's in
Correct.
question, right?
Yeah, the
So-
city's determination was that it was a laundry plant. The applicant is saying, no, it's not a laundry plant. It should probably be classified as a personal service business. So
So I just want to make sure if I heard that right. So the question is not whether it's an agency or a plant. The question is whether we believe this is a personal services general, which includes gyms, salons, and we mentioned a 90-minute kind of workout compared to cleaning your clothes. So I think for me, that's where I'm held up, is like, that's a stretch, right? Like, if I have to interpret this as to the best of my ability, is it personal services or
Can I read the entire definition from the code for personal
Yes,
services?
please, that'd be great.
Okay, it's a general mean, well, let's see, personal services, land use means any place of business providing services and accessory retail sales of products related to the services provided, categorized by the following chromatic elements. In general, which is what they're saying, in general personal. So general means establishments providing non-medical services to individuals as a primary use, in addition to the uses below. So it's not a exclusive list, but in addition to the list below, general personal services may also include accessory retail sales of products related to services provided. Examples of these uses include the following: barber and beauty shop, clothing rental, home electronics and small appliance repair, locksmith, pet grooming with no boarding, shoe repair shop, tailor, and waxing shop. And that's the full definition from the code.
Yeah,
Thank you, Greg. This is very helpful.
it is. And I still would agree that I kind of see it more in tune with that definition. But I don't know, do any of my colleagues want to propose?
Quick question to staff. Instead of 2015, this whole laundromat kind of it was even listed, it was removed when it was revised. What was in place prior to 2015?
So,
I mean, I know you've done a lot of research on this, but
yeah, I'll give you more details. So when it went back to the previous code, it identified laundromat and requiring a CUP in commercial zones, but it did list agency, like a laundry agency, just by itself, but no definition at all. So it did distinguish between the laundromat and the laundry agency at the time, but then all that went away in 2015. So then laundry agency became dry cleaning laundry agency. And then now we added plant, and why we identify the difference by size, 2,500 square feet, I'm not sure, right? Like, I don't have any documentation to show why that happened. Why laundromat went away as a use, we couldn't find that either, right? Because to me, it makes more sense to be very clear and just call out laundromat. And so this is the challenge, like, how do we figure out what was the intent, right? By, staff of the commission, those that adopted the change back in 2015. But I couldn't give you a very clear answer on that.
thank you.
Any other questions? If the applicant wanted to answer any of the questions, perhaps from the audience.
Thank you. So I just wanted to answer one of the questions brought back by the public comment. The parking is actually not the city parking in the back. It's split, half of city parking, half we actually own that lot, so half it is private parking. So we do have parking available for this tenant. And then another one of the questions that were brought up during the discussions was that, we don't want it to go against the code to create a precedent for other businesses. As we saw previously, laundromat was a separate code definition, so it wasn't included as this is part of a code definition. So historically speaking, the city of Southgate was determining that these two are actually separate and not the same at all. So it is classified still that personal service. And something I want to mention, just having history with this property, before Gabriel was with the city, it was a woman named Meredith who we were working with in the city. John, where you also had came after United Health Group. But as you guys may or may not remember, we had United Health Group sign a lease at this location. United Health Group, if you don't know, they're the $500 billion publicly traded company on the stock market that wanted to go ahead and open up a clinic in the city of Southgate at this location. So they went ahead and stepped forward to open up a location, and we the city went ahead and put a bunch of requirements on them. After being a year trying to go ahead and get their plans and permits approved, the same exact situation that Eric is in right now, they decided, we can't even do this anymore. They dropped the location. We had to terminate their lease. and they said they're never going to open in the city of Southgate again. So the precedent is not whether or not we're going to be opening business in the city. It's whether or not we're going to be denying business in the city. So that's the issue. I mean, having a floodgate of tenants opening and businesses opening is a good thing for the city. So I just wanted you to hear that point very clearly, and also the point about the parking. We do have parking in the back, even though that's not even what this is about. So thank you, guys.
Good question.
Yeah.
You mentioned you were in communication with the previous director?
Yeah, her name is Meredith. Yeah.
Meredith?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, but not for this project, because she had left before this project got approved. We worked with her on the United Health Group project.
Okay, thank you.
That's how I met her. Yeah,
Thanks.
Thank you.
of course. And then Eric also wanted to.
No, you said question. I mean, Emilia is the applicant, but I'm the owner, so I'm assuming, I don't know what question, but if you have the question,
Oh.
yes.
No, it was just if you wanted to say anything, but I
Oh.
think,
I mean, I don't, I mean, specific question, I don't remember if it was just about the mirror, I'm not sure, something. When the 4K TVs, we have 4K TVs in all the location, but I'm debating if to do music or TVs, that's a different question.
I
So,
guess that's good to know. Thank you.
whatever work for the customer.
Do any of my colleagues have a motion, either to agree with the director or the appellant?
I'll make a motion to consider the applicant's appeal, to consider the classification as personal service general.
I would just add to that, in this case, staff would bring back a resolution to the next planning commission meeting to approve the use.
So amended to include that you would bring that back. I'll second that motion. Can we get a roll call?
Commissioner Valenzuela?
No, sorry.
You said no?
No.
Commissioner Osaeta?
I agree with staff. No.
Vice Chairperson Prieto?
Yes.
And Chairperson Reese?
Yes.
What do we do in a case of a tie, Greg?
Well, we have a tie, so the director's determination has not been overturned, so the director's determination still stands. The appellant has the opportunity to appeal, this action as such to the city council. I believe the clock there's a 10-day clock on that. It doesn't start ticking until the applicant receives formal notice of the fact that the commission did not act to overturn the director's determination. So the applicant will have 10 days plus however long it takes the staff to issue that formal decision.
Got it. Thank you.
And Chair will communicate as staff with the applicant if they would choose to go through that route.
Thank you. We'll appreciate it. Oh, sorry, the public comment is done for this item. But I mean, if it goes to council, or you have any questions, you guys should be available to answer, right? But thank you all for coming. So now we'll go back to the previous item. The conditional use permit number 25-06.
Yes. Good evening, Chairperson Ruiz, members of the Planning Commission. John Signo, Planning Manager. And thanks for the applicant for waiting. Apologies for the technical difficulties. We have the presentation up now, so we'll have that shortly. But the item before you is for conditional use permit number 25-08, a property located at 8730 Garfield Avenue. The Planning Commission is conducting a public hearing to consider approving conditional use permit number 25-06 to allow the sale of alcohol under ABC license type 41 beer and wine for on-site consumption in conjunction with an existing restaurant, Kazan Barbecue, located at the site at 8730 Garfield Avenue, and finding that the project is categorically exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act, Section 15301, Class 1, existing facilities. So I have the slide up here now. Again, the request is for a conditional use permit for alcohol sales. The applicant is Valley Lynn. Business name is Kazan Barbecue. General plan has this as mixed-use commercial/industrial. It's in the district of the El Paso Shopping District, Southgate Town Center, Sub-Area 1, and the zoning is regional commercial, or RC. In regards to the project site details, the restaurant is a dine-in Korean barbecue restaurant, Kazan Barbecue. They're located at the western side of the El Paso Shopping Center. That center is about 7.89 acres, and this property is one of several comprising that El Paseo Shopping Center. The subject site is bounded by Garfield Avenue to the west, commercial buildings to the north, east, and south. There's shared parking with other businesses in the shopping center. The existing building is roughly 5,700 square feet. There's about 3,000 square feet for indoor dining and 1,100 square feet for outdoor dining. Surrounding properties include to the north, the South Pacific Railroad, bounded by the border with Bell Gardens. To the east, you have the Rio Hondo River, south of the Crossroads Commercial Center, and to the west is Tesoro Logistics Operations Manufacturing Use. So this gives you a vicinity map of the shopping center, El Paseo in Southgate, which is the northeast corner of Garfield Avenue and Firestone Boulevard. The subject restaurant is located in this location right there, Kazan Barbecue. They recently, I guess, reopened or opened up for business. And as you can see, the surrounding uses, you have industrial to the west. You have the rest of the shopping center on that northeast corner of Garfield Avenue and Firestone. And you have other commercial uses also along Firestone and Garfield Avenue. According to the municipal code, there's a requirement for a conditional use permit that if you have a sale of alcoholic beverages for on-site consumption at a restaurant, that does require a conditional use permit that has to be approved by the Planning Commission. There's certain findings that the Planning Commission has to make before it grants any approval for the conditional use permit, and that includes consistency with the municipal code and the general plan, consistency or compatibility with design and development standards, with existing and future land uses in that zone, and that the project would not result in detrimental impact to adjacent properties or to the character or function of the neighborhood. There are certain conditions of approval for alcoholic beverage sales in the municipal code that's included in the proposed resolution. In terms of the business operation for Kazan Barbecue, the hours of operation are from Monday to Thursday, 4 p.m. to 10 p.m., Friday to Saturday, 12 p.m. to 11 p.m., and Sunday from 12 p.m. to 10 o'clock p.m. So their late nights are going to be Fridays and Saturdays from 12 noon to 11 o'clock. According to the applicant, the conditional use permit provides an opportunity to increase revenues. Alcohol sales will cease 1 hour before closing. The sales include bottled alcohol and beer on tap. There is an area there for bottled alcohol proposed to be stored in the walk-in closet or walk-in cooler in the rear of the restaurant, not accessible to customers. And the beer on tap will also be located in the back of the restaurant for staff use. It will be located next to the walk-in cooler in the rear. I did want to point out that I believe the applicant mentioned the alcohol sales will cease 1 hour before closing. And so that was missed in the proposed resolution. So we did include it in the updated. It's under number 12, which it will say the sale of alcohol shall cease 1 hour before closing. Just want to make sure that that's clear, that that's added to the resolution. In terms of other conditional use or conditions of approval that are specific to the use, there's one there that's general, that alcohol may only be consumed on premises, including outdoor seating areas. Applicant must install a video surveillance system. This is requested by the police department. It has to be maintained on a 24-hour basis. And in the event of an emergency or in a situation, the applicant should provide recordings to the police department upon request. This shows you the floor plan of the restaurant. The blue area is within the building. And so that's all indoor seating area. The area at the very top there, the white, is all kitchen area for staff. And you have some bathrooms located on the top right. The areas in yellow are outdoor seating areas. They do have some seats located in this area here at the bottom. This is the west side, or I'm sorry, the east side of the building. And on the north side of the building, they also have outdoor dining space there, but there's currently no chairs or tables there. And I can show you pictures of that in the upcoming slides. This shows a close-up of that area, that staff area where the alcohol will be stored. They have a walk-in cooler at this location here. This area here, that's in blue, that's the area for customers. That's where they'll be located. And then there's this doorway right here. Once you get to that doorway, this is a staff area. So in that staff area, you have the walk-in cooler located right here where the alcohol will be stored. And there will also be alcohol on tap in this area here next to the walk-in cooler. So if, when customers order that, the staff will come, they'll take the alcoholic beverage and they'll take it out to the customer in the dining area. And this shows a photo of that area taken from about right where that doorway is, where that exit sign is. You're seeing the walk-in cooler on the right-hand side, and further down you'll see that area for the tap located in that area there. These are just some photos of the restaurant as it is now. The top left shows the Kazan Barbecue and the Southgate mural there facing Garfield Avenue to the west. And then the other photos are all photos of the dining area. The top right is close to the entrance when you first walk in. The bottom left kind of shows the northern dining area. And the bottom right photo shows a typical seating area with the table and the grilling area there on the table. These are photos of the exterior. The top left shows kind of where the entrance is located. There is an outdoor dining area in that area. The top right shows a close-up of that dining area where you have the tables and chairs set up. The bottom left shows that northern outdoor dining area. There currently are no chairs or tables in that area, but it does show as seating area there. So in the future, they may be able to expand and have tables and chairs there. And then the bottom right just shows you a photo of the restaurant from the south side where you have the drive-through. In terms of the environmental analysis, the project is categorically exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act. It qualifies as a Class 1 exemption, Section 15301. It's an existing facility. There's no changes to the exterior or really any physical changes to the building. They're just including a use for alcohol sales. And staff's recommendation is that the Planning Commission find the project is categorically exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act under Section 15301, Class 1, existing facilities, and make the required findings and requirements set forth in Southgate Municipal Code, and approve the application for conditional use permit number 26-04, subject to the proposed conditions of approval and or other conditions that the Planning Commission may wish to impose. We included those conditions of approval in the attached resolution. And that concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, John. Is the applicant here? Would you like to come up and speak? Okay, thank you. Any public comments? No? Okay, any written comments?
No
Senator?
written comments.
Any questions or comments from my colleagues?
I have a question, John. Do we know if alcohol is going to be served with meals, or is there a bar where alcohol is being consumed?
I visited the restaurant. I didn't see a bar area there. And actually their tap area is kind of like behind, it's outside the customer service area. So it's in the back. So there is no bar.
No bar area. And then what measures is the business taking to prevent underage alcohol sales?
We have requirements that are supposed to be standard in our code, that they get trained, that they're of the proper age. And I believe that also applies to their ABC, their liquor license that they get through the Department of Alcohol and Beverage Control.
And one last question, are they going to have security on site? I noticed the hours of operation are late, just wondering.
That's probably a question that the applicant might be able to answer. I haven't been told that they do have any security there. I don't believe it's mentioned in their application.
Okay.
Would you
Thank
mind
you.
coming up and answering the question and state your name as well?
Hello, my name is Valley. So I'm the applicant for the restaurant. As for security, the plaza itself does have security.
Oh, that's right.
So I usually I'm the last one to leave around sometimes 12 or so. They always have somebody outside patrolling. So there's
Thank
no
you.
problem with that.
Any other questions from my colleagues?
I think on the security question also, I thought I saw in the agenda package that there was a requirement that they install security cameras and that they make the footage available to the police upon request.
That's correct.
That was actually my question, whether PD had submitted any concerns or comments related to this. Because I know, I mean, I'm dating myself, but back when Edwards opened and we had like a Dave and Buster's type thing come in, I know there was a lot of concern with the liquor use in that area. But I mean, this was several years ago. I don't know if anything to that extent has been brought up. And I know we've had Hooters there too. So I don't know if there's been issue with alcohol use related to PD calls. Just curious.
Alcohol use related to?
If there have been any concerns from PD related to the alcohol use.
No, we did send this out to PD, Police Department. They did have that one condition in there that we included as a condition of approval. It's included in the report, page 18 of the staff report. It reads, permittee shall install a 24-hour video surveillance system and have managers trained in how to access footage. Police officers shall be allowed access to surveillance footage during regular business hours for the purpose of conducting a criminal investigation. If a burglary alarm is installed, emergency information for the persons responsible should be kept updated at all times.
That's right. Thank you. Oh, go ahead, Vice Chair.
I have another question, John. How will compliance of the CUP be monitored? I know in the past for some restaurants, we have like a review period. Is that being implemented for this?
Yes, on page 17 of the staff report, there is a condition in there. It's condition 19, as it's numbered right now. But it reads, the permit shall be subject to compliance review of the property and permit conditions at Planning Commission established intervals. The first compliance review shall occur within 6 months of permit issuance or actuation. So we do have that condition in there. But in all honesty, I mean, we are short-staffed. So unless we, give that to maybe one of the code enforcement officers, or unless we find out there's an issue there, we might get a call. Chances are, that 6 months may go, beyond that. But that condition is there in case we do want to go back and check up and make sure that they are in compliance.
Thank you.
Commissioner, was that-
Can I add to that? Because I think it is important to note that the 6 months from when they actually get the ABC license, I think that would be something that I would make a recommendation on, because I know we've had another applicant kind of get their or go through the whole process. They had it for 2 months, or they even didn't have it have the license in place, but we had the review on our end prior to that. So just something, if there's a way for us to make a note of that or even track that, because I anticipate it'd take a little longer for them to get the license from, depending on what is determined today, then would give us a little bit more time to actually assess it.
Yeah, that condition does end with, it's a 6 months of permit issuance or actuation. So to me, actuation is when they actually start using.
Thank you, John. Disregard my comment.
Thank you. Do any of my colleagues want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve.
A second?
I'll second.
Can we get a roll call?
Commissioner Valenzuela,
Yes.
Commissioner Osaeta,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Prieto,
Yes.
and Chairperson Ruiz.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you. Thank you. On to the continuation of the study session to review proposed amendments to the Southgate zoning code for 2026.
Okay.
Director.
Great. Thank you, Chair, members of the Plan Commission. So happy to be here to present this item again. We presented this at a study session at the last Planning Commission meeting. After the earlier discussion today, we realized how important it is to have a very well crafted municipal code. And this is your opportunity to kind of evaluate the municipal code. The reason why we're presenting this to you today is the municipal code is very important in protecting the quality of life for our residents and creating the development standards that we want to see and identifying the uses that make sense for the city of Southgate. So I'll quickly review where we started. Javier, we don't have a different pointer than the one that we were using? 'Cause I was having trouble. I'm not figuring this one out. Well, we'll start from the beginning because I'll go through all the slides. And then I think we might have someone that's a member of the public of the audience based on what was presented at the last time. So okay. I'm going to
Provide a recap of what we want. Yeah, good. Thank you.
So just a recap, obviously we have a zoning map that shows all the different zones in the city, and we have land use standards that identify the permitted types of businesses and uses that are allowed in the city. But also we have text language that identifies the development standards, and that allows us to develop the standards for our downtown corridors, our industrial zones. And so we did look at our land use types. We did review something that we wanted the Planning Commission to investigate, which is potentially prohibiting cement manufacturing citywide, where right now it's allowed with the conditional use permit in our more intensive industrial zones, being the M2 and M3 zone. I didn't see any big objections to that from the Planning Commission. Also that, we were talking about laundromats today, the potential of bringing the laundromat term back into the code, but allowing it again, but with a conditional use permit. The reason for the CUP is we want to make sure that, I would recommend that we ensure that these uses operate to the highest quality, and that allow the Planning Commission to make that determination. But actually, we were going to identify a 2,500 foot separation between laundromats. In the case of the business that we evaluated today, they would fall within that 2,500 minimum separation. I did look at a map, and we'll present that again in the future, of all the laundromats in the city. I think there's about 11. I think there's 3 other ones on Tweedy Boulevard. 2 of them would definitely be within 2,500 feet of each other. I think there's one within 500 feet on Tweedy Boulevard. There's another one that is on Tweedy Boulevard that's separated by Long Beach by about 1,000 feet. So just kind of keep that in mind, right? So if you want us to investigate a different distance requirement, maybe 2,500 is too restrictive based on what's out there. But that's just my recent assessment after there were some questions about the existing laundromats. The other uses that we were looking at was trying to eliminate the ambiguity with storage, right? Because it was combined with vehicle repair. And so there could be the case that someone makes that vehicle storage could be allowed as a permitted use just by right. So we wanted to make that distinction and limitations to how long vehicles could be stored in relationship to a vehicle repair use, so that it's not outside in perpetuity.
I'm sorry, quick question, just because we went through like an exhaustive kind of conversation about laundromats. So if you go back to the previous slide real quick,
Yeah.
how is that going to kind of, sorry, I apologize. The 2,500 feet, 25, sorry. 20,
Yeah, 2,500.
there, sorry, that wasn't it.
That's no.
One more back.
Back more.
There you go, right there, right there.
There you go.
Is 2,500 foot minimum separation from existing laundromats? What would be like that kitty corner? How far is that from?
The one that we saw.
Yeah,
today?
we were just
So it was.
just to give a visual, like what
That
is
was
like
250 feet.
okay, so that definitely wouldn't even fall into the
The ones I was looking at on Tweedy Boulevard, the ones that exist, like the 500 feet, it's still kind of close. But the other one that's 1,000 feet, it seemed like a good distance, right?
Yeah.
When you see about the separation. So that's why I thought maybe we could consider reducing that a little bit further.
And with that, is there anywhere in the municipal code where there would be the minimum square footage of the? Because I know that's something that.
No, so if we were, right now, what we're proposing in the code is to allow laundromats of any size, but with a conditional use permit. So if a size restriction was important to the planning commission, that would be important for us to hear from you.
Yeah. I guess that goes back to what we're seeing across like the industry, like what's a decent size. And I think when you start looking at Tweedy, I mean, imagine if we have a laundromat that's like a whole block, right? Like it's 7,000 square foot or some, what was it, 7,500 square foot. That's about half a block, right? So just curious to see what my colleagues felt was, or what, the direction of staff would be when it comes to having a cap. Because I do believe that a cap is something to consider.
Yeah. Well, I think the Fiesta Coin Laundry, it's a pretty sizable facility too. I don't know if it was 7,000 square feet, but maybe it's about 5,000 square feet. It was a pretty large facility. So, I don't know what would be considered too large, but I would leave that up to the planning commission. If you think that you don't, in this case, they were going to occupy 3 storefronts, right? So if that's too much, and it could be the case that the planning commission thinks that we'd rather wait for individual uses to occupy that and some other use, then that's up to you for you to decide.
So my conjecture from just our previous discussion based on the setting a difference between a small operation and a big operation, I saw that as valuable for a operation that services, that does large scale. Like I said, I usually see places that do uniform service, cleaning as a large scale. So I would see that as, kind of similar to a manufacturing facility that, people might not want to have in a boulevard like Tweedy. So I kind of wonder if maybe that was the thinking behind setting a difference between a plant and the agency. But as far as laundromat operations, as an inspector, I've inspected several throughout, I would even say the country, and they're all about the same, similar to the Fiesta. I would even say that's kind of on the smaller scale. So I personally don't see the point in setting a cap.
So, yeah, it's definitely the prerogative of the planning commission. So we're just looking for whatever your recommendations might be.
I'd be curious to see what caps are in place with some of the neighboring cities. I know they
Okay.
reference some cities
Yeah.
and what they have in place. I mean, especially if you're going through this thorough study and even looking at what the sizes of some of the other laundromats in Southgate are, and then that kind of gives you an idea. I think that the what's in question is the fact that this is on Tweedy Mile, right, as opposed to an off street that might be where we're trying to attract different types of businesses to, right? But just curious to see that. That's just my humble
And
suggestion.
we didn't know the reason, and some of staff speculation is that we didn't want large laundromats, but we're guessing on that, right? So we'll definitely do that. We'll look at the laundromats, the sizes in the city, if we can get that information and how that compares to other cities if they restrict it. So-
And again, I would look at the, because it can be tricky. And I know like even in Huntington Park, where I grew up, there was actually one of those large scale laundry plants that were like, it was like a huge, warehouse size building. So I know that those exist as well. And it might be hard to differentiate if you
Yeah,
don't
I
look
think
into
I
it.
think in this case, if we adopt this, the laundromat, we would make the laundry agency and a laundry plant that no longer the coin laundry type use, right? So we refine that definition a little bit more as well, so that it's very distinct from each other.
That might be an operation you might want to consider thinking about in the foreseeable future, if in case something like that tries to come into Southgate, how to distinguish that from regular coin operated. I mean, maybe it is just to put coin operated.
Yeah.
Self-service laundry.
Yeah, we definitely want to make that clear. Moving on to
Gabe's like enough for laundry. Mats.
No, it's good. We'll address it now. All right. So we addressed this last time on towing, and we were proposing to, instead of being permitted by right in the M2 and M3 zones, the more intensive industrial zones in the city, that we would require a conditional use permit. That way, it allows you to add conditions, and that seemed to be supported by the commission. I didn't see any objections. The other is truck storage and terminals, and so what we were proposing, this is only permitted in the M2 and M3 zones. So truck storage being like large semi trucks or their trailers, what is allowed by a conditional use permit. Staff wanted to investigate this more with the Planning Commission because we've received community feedback about this, and that there was concerns, particularly about the illegal truck storage. But I think truck storage in general, in terms of traffic, how much land they use in our industrial parks or industrial zones, and so potentially looking at prohibiting it. I do want to mention that there is one application that we have into the city for an expansion of truck storage in the city, and that's JB Hunt. I think we reported this a few months ago. They are preparing an environmental impact report, and this is for a site located, I believe it's the M2 zone on the east side of the 710 freeway. So they have existing operations, but they would be expanding. It wouldn't affect their existing operations, but it would affect, if this was adopted, their ability to expand, right? So, so this not only impacts new development, but also would affect an expansion of the city. So I just want to make you aware of that. We did inform the JB Hunt applicant about it. They do have some concerns, but we're going to have that dialogue and report back to you. And I believe they might be here today to talk about this. So the other is storage facilities. So we identified that we would not allow that by right in these two zones, the LI and the M2 zones. These are two industrial zones, but that we would potentially look at allowing that as an accessory use, as a way to encourage potentially other desirable uses in the same facility. So then the storage facility would be a secondary use on the site and would encourage development. And why this could be useful is that it is very difficult to attract large retailers or big box, but this could be a way to facilitate development of large spaces, but not allow for storage facilities to occupy the entire space. So we did look at this as well. Ground floor retail and pedestrian uses section of the code. We do have, you've probably seen some of these cases where the windows are completely covered, but that's because they have displays that are backed up to the windows. In the past, these were historic buildings that had views into the storefront, so you could see what's inside. It could be a safety concern. So we wanted to limit the ability for them to obscure windows inside the city. We talked about security fencing and the potential to only allow maybe barbed wire in the instances where it's not visible from a public street. So maybe a side yard property line or the rear property line where it's just not visible. So we taken that guidance. So that's where we stopped. So we'll talk about signage. So if you're ready for this conversation, right now in the code, we do have a prohibited sign section of the code. I thought it would be good for us to consider raising the bar for the signs that can be approved in the city. Currently, we don't have any restrictions for cabinet box signs. And you can see in the photos, those are what cabinet and box signs are. They are in the shape of a rectangular or a box. They usually are lit from the inside, and you can see lighting in the whole box. So a lot other cities sometimes prohibit this kind of signage just because the visual quality, it creates a lot of glare, and maybe it's not the highest quality sign that could be developed versus like individual channel lettering. So the recommendation here would be potentially to prohibit cabinet box signs. And so this is, I don't know if the commission has any thoughts on that, but this is just a recommendation from staff. And we have a lot of box signs in the city, so I just want to be clear about that. So it wouldn't mean that those existing cabinet signs would have to come down, but if there was a new business, then they wouldn't be prohibited. They would be prohibited from installing those signs in the future. Any thoughts on that?
Colleagues?
Quick question. Typically, when there's a new tenant, does that upgrade fall on the actual landlord, or does it fall on the tenant to upgrade the signage?
I think that depends on their agreement,
Okay.
but typically it's the tenant that's responsible for that cost.
Okay, thank you.
And when are they grandfathered in? Is it if the casing is already there, would a new tenant be able to just change the face of the sign?
Yeah. So if the casing is still there, they could replace it. And we can make that clear, right? So if you want to make sure that they could replace the casing as long as it's there with the new panel, then they could do that, right? But I think that's the more reasonable approach here. If there's no longer any box sign there, then
Or if it's not working, maybe?
or if it's not working, yeah, abandoned for a long time. Maybe a certain period of time that's abandoned, then maybe it comes down.
Yeah, because it might be an electrical issue, right? If it hasn't been in use for whatever. I'm not an electrician, so I won't pretend to know, but I would imagine. And I kind of like the idea. I really have been. I think it's important for us as a city to really keep up with the trends of just how appealing new looks can be. And I have been convinced by the new projects that have come in with their, more modern looking signage. So I would be for the change and with the leniency to keep working box signs or that have been or can be grandfathered in.
Okay. And then I'll read the language so you're aware of what that language would look like. So as it says up there, previous slide. Sorry about that. Javier, would you be able to go back one? Okay. The cabinet, box, panel, or exposed background sign types are prohibited. The only permitted sign elements that would be the box sign is individual logos. A lot of times you'll see individual channel letters, but a lot of times they have a logo that still would be considered like a box sign.
That would be kind of like the whole Pollo Loco issue, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. That we had last time, yeah.
Gabriel, and did you say this would be for new or existing businesses?
It would be for new, but if the plan commission wanted to specify if there was existing, like the casing for the box, that if the business would be allowed to replace that panel with their new business sign. So, or you could restrict that, right? You could say, hey, if it's been abandoned for 6 months, a year, whatever you prefer, then they have to replace it with a new individual channel letter sign or some other approved sign.
Got it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that would be consistent with the legal non-conforming use provisions of the code as it exists right now. If the use is discontinued for 6 months, then it would, unless it's in an industrial area, it'd be 2 years.
Okay.
But yeah, you could apply that same rationale.
So we could do that if that's what the plan commission wanted.
All right. Would this seems to be aligned with like the CBDG business facade improvement kind of plan where you work with tenants or landlords to upgrade their facade, signage, and things of that nature? Yeah.
Yeah. So we were looking. We haven't implemented that yet, but we're interested in kicking off a future CDBG program so that sign owners could get some funding to upgrade their signage. I think the best idea would that upgrade wouldn't be a box sign; it would be a more high quality sign.
I would say because I know there's been in the past there's been an opportunity to advocate for that when CBDG funding is available with the Community Advisory Council. So I'd be with you like locking arms if we can advocate for dollars to be allocated for that type of program. We've seen advocacy and how it's helped the Rec and Park Department for potential projects, capital projects. Those didn't pan out. But, I think anytime you can bring a certain level of improvement to the facade of any of our businesses, I think it's an added value overall. It's a win-win for everyone.
Thank you. Okay. The next slide. There we go. All right. So the other prohibited sign in our code right now, actually we prohibit rooftop signs. And so usually, that might be a good idea in most cases, just because, a lot of cities don't allow rooftop signs. But I have seen cases like in the photos below. One example is San Francisco. The other one is in, I think, Oxnard or Ventura, where the rooftop sign, just the way it looks, makes sense, right? Maybe it's visible from far away, and it could attract business to the development. It could attract economic development. So in this case, I would say, well, maybe we don't prohibit it in all cases. So the language I would propose here is that rooftop signs normally would be prohibited unless approved by the City Planning Commission as part of a sign program for a major shopping center visible from the 710 or the 105 freeway, and to be determined to be of a superior architectural design. So I think that would raise the level for that rooftop sign. There's a certain standard that they have to meet, which is not staff level approval, but it would have to go to the Planning Commission. So any thoughts about that?
Any comments from my colleagues? What was the reasoning behind prohibiting rooftop signs in the past?
A lot of cities do prohibit it. We have quite a few rooftop signs in the city. So, give you an example of McDonald's on Firestone. That's the rooftop sign that's there.
And Greenspans too now.
I actually think it's a good rooftop sign there. That's my opinion. But I think there's some other rooftop signs that we have throughout the city that could be of better quality. So I think if we were able to establish a standard, but maybe it's incentivized more for developments that we're trying to encourage economic development. Maybe it makes sense where you could see it further away from the freeway. But just want to get your thoughts on how we develop a standard around this.
I think I would I would lean on staff's expertise on this, especially when you're looking at signage by freeways or anything along those lines. I have seen, I mean, there's always pros and cons to everything, right? We talk about channel or the box signs, but you know, when you get into channel letterings, because I've dealt with this a little bit, and I know technology kind of advances pretty much every year, every month when you start looking at, but I think channel lettering was not as energy efficient as some of the box signage. But in regards to like the roof signs, I just, anytime you're gonna allow something, my humble suggestion is to always put like some kind of level of standard, like what is kind of similar to what John has done with some of the other signage across facades, is to put that in place for rooftop signage. Something that would be appealing, to your point, would help draw business, but not jeopardize the integrity of.
And we could provide some examples. So we do have some illustrative examples or pictures that in the code. So, you know, like to me, these are good representations in these photographs. And so it could convey, you know, this is the level of quality that we'd like to see. So one's if you've ever been there in San Francisco, the Ghirardelli, and then the other one's a shopping center called the Collection. But yeah, definitely we want to convey a high standard to this. But I think when we just prohibit it outright, and you know, there's an economic development opportunity, they really want to do a rooftop sign, but the code says no, then we close our options. Okay.
My only question would be the amount of light pollution in the sense that it might affect neighbors, residential neighbors. If that would be something to consider. I personally don't know
Yeah.
how much intensity a rooftop sign would have.
It could have a lot, right? So the way it's written right now, it doesn't have a standard for that. So if you were concerned about it, there could be better ways to shield it to make sure it's just not overly eliminated and creating a lot of glare onto adjacent properties. So we could include that language here to try to avoid having unlimited glare that, you know, maybe could even cause an issue from the freeway, right? On the intensity, right? So we definitely want to avoid a situation. At least the photograph on the right, it's not too much glare, right? It's
Yeah.
probably a little bit more dimmed down, but you can still see it. It looks good.
Yeah, that would be my only concern with something like that. But I mean, I think it would definitely be appealing for sure, but definitely just to be considerate of any potential residential impacts.
So we could develop some language to include and see if that works for the commission. Okay.
Another quick question, Gabriel, if signage that typically comes to the commission, right? So it would be.
No, signage typically so that would go administrative level. The only reason it would go to the planning commission is if they were proposing a larger sign program for a shopping center.
Oh, okay, there you go. That makes
Is
sense.
there any
'Cause
other
we saw that
cases
come
that
through,
would go to
right?
planning commission? That's it, right?
Yeah, we saw that come through in Garfield, the Garfield Imperial location.
Yeah. So
Murals often come here, but not business signs.
yes. And murals, yeah. Okay.
I think that's why the Imperial one came through because it didn't adhere to current.
The one with the Pollo Loco?
Yeah.
So that came forward because it was a sign program for the whole center, so they were updating it. Mhm. All right. So the other prohibited signs is raceways. So a lot of cities prohibit raceways for signage. And what a raceway is, you could see it on one of these businesses here. It's a raceway that holds the channel letters together, but you could see it in the background, right? The alternative to that is where you see a raceway where there's no raceway, but they're individually fixed to the wall, right? To me, it's a better look. A lot of cities try to discourage the raceways. But I actually think this GameStop sign, it has a raceway, but you can't see it. So my recommendation would be that we prohibit exposed raceways. That would be the language I propose. But any thoughts on that? I just think that we do have signs that have raceways, like the one example here. But I think if we're able to limit that, it would set a good a higher bar for a lot of our commercial signage. Thoughts? Okay. All right.
I think it's a good idea too.
To do
I
that.
kind of like the idea of not making it too obvious.
Yeah. So we'll make some recommendations there. The other is signs allowed by sign permit in the commercial manufacturing zone. So currently, no requirements for the type of sign exists. So what we recommend, I'm sorry, what I mean by that is there are no requirements for the sign type in the municipal code. A lot of municipal codes do have a requirement for the sign type. In this, what I would recommend is that we require that the typical commercial sign either be channel lettering, push-through lettering, or cut-through letters, or halo lit. And so these are examples of what that would look like. So the Ross Dress for Less, or typical channel lettering, right? No raceway, but it is individual letters that are internally illuminated. Push-through letters, I don't have an example here, but basically the letters are routed out, but the letters stick out from a panel. And then there's cut-through letters. So you can actually cut the shape of the letters, but the light shines through where the letters cut through. And then the halo lit is more like what you would see with the Bombay sign on the lower right. So the halo lit, it's kind of like a more elegant looking sign, a little bit more expensive to do, but the lighting is around the actual lettering. So the lettering doesn't have the light; it actually shines all around it. So the language for this would read: type, channel letters, push-through letters, cut-through, or halo letters are required. Alternative compatible sign materials may be authorized as part of an approved sign program. Painted signs may be authorized when designed in a superior quality and approved by the Director of Community Development. The reason why we added the language about painted signs is we currently allow them. There are a lot of painted signs, but no standards for that. I think the other question is, do we want to continue to allow painted signs? A lot of cities maybe prohibit them. In this case, we don't have any standard. I think maybe allowing it, but ensuring that it's of a superior quality and that the Director of Community Development has to approve it. I think that's a better way to go. So I just want to get your thoughts on this, because this would establish a different standard for signs throughout the city.
Any comments?
My only concern is designating in a superior quality, like what would be the standard for that? Right? Like it just leaves a lot of like,
one of the things that we could do, like usually it's better to have good examples, right? Like I mentioned. So here I haven't presented examples of good painted signs. And that's something we could even bring back, right? So I used to work for the city of San Clemente. So they allowed painted signs that were painted on wood, but it was like an old style look, and the wood was routed out around the signs. So they established a standard that was through an actual image. So we could, maybe present something like that. If you have ideas of what you'd like to see in the painted sign, maybe you don't want to see a painted sign directly on the wall of a building. You want to see it painted on some kind of structure or some kind of panel. That's open to direction from the Planning Commission.
I think that would be important, just because there might, and I know that we've had issues with just clutter in storefronts. So I think it would be important to kind of set that standard for painted signs. And I could also see just the need or differentiation with something like a caution sign. And I'm thinking of, something that my dad has at his shop. He has a tire shop, and he has signs all over the outside to, tell customers where to go and stuff like that. So that might be something to be considered about too, like differentiating what signs fall under this purview, whether it's, from street view or et cetera.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. And so we'll look for some examples to bring back as well to the commission. and just see like, what the preferences would be and see if we can do that. Okay. Any other thoughts on this?
One more question, or actually maybe comment around signage, is when you're looking at channel lettering, if there's turnover in business, then clearly you just have to scrap it, right? If it's box signage, then allows for the plexiglass to be replaced with new what business or whatever the case may be. I'm just curious. I mean, clearly we have financial limitations here at the city, but as we look at I keep going back to that facade improvement plan, like somehow if there is turnover, that at least new businesses are aware that there might be an opportunity for some kind of support from that CBDG funding allocation to make sure that they're in line with the current standard that the city puts in place.
Yeah.
I'm sure you see it. We see it down Tweedy, left and right. There's turnover. Would be unfortunate for us to require for businesses to have the new businesses to come in and have channel lettering, and then 6 months, 8 months later, they're transitioned out, and then we have the whole expense that someone else is going to have to take on. I'm just kind of thinking on that front. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, maybe what you've seen in other cities, to kind of help alleviate that potential issue.
Yeah, I mean, there definitely is probably a higher cost to going in this direction versus the box sign, because you're just replacing a panel. So we don't have that program implemented right now where CDBG funds are available to be able to upgrade the signs. The intent is to do that soon. What we were trying to align that with is some code enforcement outreach efforts directly with storefronts, because there's also a lot of unpermitted signage. And so that's still the intent. I just don't have a date when we would initiate that program. But hearing from the Planning Commission that you support that, that's good for us to know.
Thanks, Gabe.
Yeah, thank you. So the other is there's a section on signs allowed by sign permit in commercial and manufacturing zone. So regarding freestanding or ground signs, currently there are no requirements for freestanding signs. So there was an example at the Pollo Loco that was presented to you where there was a freestanding sign that had kind of the menu of all the businesses that were located there. It's like a tall sign, but we don't have any standards for that. I think there could be a really good way to do that and a bad way to do it. And I'll give you an example of that. So you might have a case where you just have all these different colored panels. It creates a lot of clutter. And I think that's what I would recommend we avoid, but that we'd recommend this standard, that we require freestanding signs to be include the lettering, either be channel lettering, halo lit, or push-through letters. A lot of shopping centers will include push-through letters for each of the different businesses that are identified there. So in here, the language would be freestanding monument signs shall consist solely of channel routed, halo lit, or push-through letters. No monument signs shall display illumination through a translucent sign panel, and illumination shall not extend beyond the perimeter of the individual letter or logo. So I think this would create a good standard for your freestanding signs. If you've ever seen those examples in other centers, it's just a higher standard that just makes the shopping center look better. Another example of freestanding sign would be at the Azalea Shopping Center, right? So they have a freestanding sign. The sign looks pretty good, but it wouldn't totally comply with this. They have the individual panels, so all the lighting shines in the back of the lettering. In this case, our recommendation is that the illumination only occur where the lettering is proposed for each of the businesses. So that's a recommendation that we have. Any thoughts on that? And if you need more images too, I realize we didn't have an image for this. Happy to bring that back to the Planning Commission.
Any comments?
No thoughts?
I'm personally indifferent. I kind of like the Azalea sign, so I don't know. I feel like maybe.
And if you were okay with that, then what we would modify that to say, just remove that language about the illumination.
It would be helpful if you do have a picture of what an ideal signage would be and then compare it to maybe something that we have in place. I think that would, a visual, at least for me personally, would make sense. I mean, it's not the world I live in.
Yeah.
But it'd be cool to see that.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll do that. I mean, that makes sense. Okay, the next is pole signs. So we do allow pole signs throughout the city, and these are examples of what pole signs look like. A lot of cities in California did allow them in the past, but a lot of them have modified their codes to prohibit them unless they were adjacent to a freeway. A lot of times you'll see that in cities where they prohibited pole signs, but they still allow them along the freeway so that there's visibility and it makes more sense to have the height for the signs. My opinion is that there's a lot of clutter that's created on our corridors by the pole signs. The alternative that other businesses do is just either have their wall sign or they have a monument sign that's no taller than 6 feet. And so they could still advertise, but they would be limited to having the monument sign. So there are a few examples here, but was interested to know what the Planning Commission thought about that. Does the Planning Commission, are you interested in potentially prohibiting these signs for the future?
I agree with the recommendation.
Are there a lot of those? No.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
pole signs in the city. Yeah. So, and I would recommend taking the drive, like notice it. On Firestone, it's almost like every business, right? And then what does the visual quality of the corridor look like? So just my thoughts that if incrementally that would change over time, right? As new businesses come in. So I think that Ganas business is no longer there, and it's a new one. But in the future, if it was abandoned for a long time, that would have to come down, and they would be replacing that with a monument sign. So slowly, you would see the changes happen in the city, but you would start from somewhere.
I'm indifferent only because I'm one of those people that maneuver my life around visuals and signs instead of street names. So but I can go either. I mean, I see the issue with the clutter, but I also feel like I do see the owner's perspective, like the one we had prior, how it does kind of give you a further line of view target as a business.
Mm-hmm.
I think the monument sign would also still meet that, right? Like it gives you more street visibility. It's just it's more visually appealing. I think that's what you're kind of shooting for when potentially eliminating pole
More
signs.
low profile.
Yeah.
So
I can assure you, I'll be looking. All we'll be thinking about is signage after today. Just so you know.
Yeah. You'll notice it.
Laundromats.
Gabriel, I
Take
think
a look. You might change your mind later.
I think for me, I'm considering like the economic impact for small businesses or businesses that have these pole signs. Like, have we done any research on that?
So one of the things I mentioned the last study session is that I think there's going to be a level of outreach that we need to do with the business community. So we'll definitely share this with the Chamber of Commerce. So this is really present this to you for the first time to allow you to say, hey, do we need to talk to businesses to see what the impact is? I don't know what the impact is. Usually people prefer as much signage as they want. But I would say those cities that don't allow pole signs, they have very successful businesses that still operate in the city. So my opinion is I don't see the impact just based on what I've seen in other cities. But, and the flip side of that is sometimes the corridors become more attractive and it attracts other people to come in that normally wouldn't come in, right? Because maybe it's a more beautiful environment because you have less signage. So, but that's why this is here. If you want us to reach out to the business community, that's something that we were planning to do.
Do you see this anywhere specifically in Southgate where you see more of the signage that would potentially in the future kind of change? Is it like are you thinking like the major corridors like Firestone, Tweedy, Long Beach, some of the bigger streets? And if so, I think it would, to my colleague's point, I think doing maybe like a more of a targeted approach to those businesses, because not everybody's a part of the Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
So I think that to me would be maybe an area of opportunity anytime there's like conditional use permit, there's, bunch of information that goes out to folks. Maybe that can be something to kind of take into consideration if you notice that there's a specific area that you think would probably feel the impact, maybe reach out to them directly, or, we can support with that.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. We assume the chamber represents everyone, but not all the time, right? Not everyone's a participant. So there's other ways, and if you have suggestions too on how to do that outreach, we're definitely open to that. All right, next one. Oops, I went ahead and wait. Oh man, you got it. Thank you, Javier. Keep going.
And the signage conversation started with John. So John, this is all you, right?
All right. So flagpoles in the city. So when we were addressing a flagpole at the FHC, there wasn't really great standards in the code. So we knew we had to come back and present something back to Planning Commission that makes sense. So, what are going to be our guardrails for flagpoles in the future? So we thought we need to create an ordinance that establishes what those standards are. So one, as I mentioned, no standards exist for flagpoles citywide, and there's probably people that have them at their residences, but there's no permit that we issue, maybe a building permit for that. So in this case, we would add a standard for flagpoles with a maximum height of 35 feet by administrative approval. And then oversized flagpoles above 35 feet would require city council approval, but it would only be allowed on sites that have a total site area of 10 acres. And so that way you don't see a proliferation throughout the whole city. We thought it made sense that it goes to city council because there's a high level standard that has to be met, that city council would authorize that in the city. So this would create two tiers for flagpoles. One would be typical flagpoles that could be allowed, but not exceeding 35 feet. And then something that would be oversized, like you would see with Schultz Steel or with FHC. Higher level standard goes to city council, has to be at least 10 acres. So, but any thoughts on that?
How big are those facilities? I'm trying to visualize what properties we have in Southgate that have.
Yeah, they're more than 10 acres for sure. So Schultz Steel is more than 10 acres. So is FHC. So the standard I chose here, it's arbitrary standard, right? But I think if we didn't create a standard, then anyone can say, I'm going to put a 100-foot flag on my property. So I just think we need to create the guardrails just in case this was proposed again. Or maybe we don't allow it ever again, right? So this is really up for the Planning Commission to think about.
That's what I was wondering too. Something like a municipal building or county building like the library. 'Cause that's not.
And we can limit it that way if that's what the Planning Commission wants to do.
Or have that exemption. I mean, do buildings like that go by city standards? Are they obligated?
I don't think they probably don't get a permit right now from the city. Not that I'm aware of.
They still need building permits, so you have to comply with the state building codes. So I suppose if you're going to put up a 100-foot flagpole, there are engineering concerns you have to prove to the building department that you've addressed.
Yeah. So that one went to the FAC went to city council.
Yeah.
But they still had to get a building permit for it because the foundation of that has to be significant for that kind of pole. So this would require a city council review. At the same time, it would still require a building permit.
And why would it go to council versus just planning?
It could go to plan commission, and this is up to the plan commission. Maybe you only want it to go to plan commission. But my thoughts on it was that if it's you don't have a lot of oversized flags, and maybe it's something that the council should see as well. So
Quick question, or maybe comment is, I mean, from what's mentioned, like your typical schools, your municipality buildings and things of that nature, yes, there's typically a flagpole, right? But I'll lean on your expertise, and John, as you guys have been a part of other cities throughout your career journey, and Greg too, is flagpoles, is that typically something that we see pop up? Because that's one of the things that came up when the FHC thing, the flagpole was going to go up, and there wasn't any standards in place, and there wasn't anything that was prohibiting any flagpoles coming into our city. And then I thought, like, well, what's going to keep us from having literally, flagpoles popping up in every property down Firestone or down Tweedy or whatever the case may be? It's like, have you seen that add value to cities that you've been navigating in the past? Did they allow flagpoles in the city? Just curious to see what you saw in some of the other cities that you've been fortunate to kind of serve.
like a lot of cities don't have standards around flagpoles, but mysteriously allow them somehow, right? Like I've seen like big businesses suddenly put them up without a permit, or somehow the city, it wasn't in the code, but the city allowed it through a building permit. I just think it's a better practice for us to have something that's clear, right? It's either prohibited or it's allowed, right? And if it's allowed, what are the limitations, right?
Yeah.
So in this, when I did some research with other cities, they called the larger flags oversized flagpoles. And then the standard for the smaller flagpoles were a maximum of 35 feet. So that's where the 35 feet comes from research in other cities.
I kind of like that because I do see just the need to really set kind of that differentiation and limitation to the oversized. So I do like that it's differentiated, but I also, but I mean, I'm trying to think of like something like the county library or even, the Cela Cultural Arts Center, that's probably going to be, I don't know if I think it's county driven, right? So I don't know, what if they want a flag? Like, are they just going to go through 35 feet or?
Well, if that ends up being on county property, and if it was in the city of Southgate, though, we wouldn't have restrictions.
Oh, so you don't even have a say. So it
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So,
But you could have a similar facility that's on city property, not city property, but within the city that's not county jurisdiction that proposes this. So right now, there's not really good standards to apply to them. So in that case, do we want to allow for it? It could be the case that, hey, what Schultz Steel installed and what FHC did, that's enough. We're done with the oversized flags, right? So this is really for you to kind of make that judgment call if we want to continue to allow it. In this case, what I'm proposing here is just like not everyone could do it. It has to be a big site, and there's not a lot of sites that are 10 acres that could do something like this. At the same time, go to city council for approval. I'm open to hear what you think.
and I think the other option is just to say it's prohibited and not allow any flagpoles, right? So that's why I was posing that question. Like, what do you see value to a city to have flagpoles just popping up left and right, even if they meet the standard or the guidelines that you set in place? Like, have you what other businesses or anything like that would add value to it? We were just talking about signage, right? Like, other than that, like I'm just trying to understand, right? Get a better understanding of what that looks like, or get your expert. And I know John, maybe John can add to that too, but I'm just curious because I don't,
from different angles, I don't know what it adds. Like economic development, I'm not sure if people are going to a place because they have a large flag. I would say I'm not attracted to a business because they have a big flag. I'm amazed by how big the flag is, but that's it. But in terms of adding that kind of value that maybe it attracts a business.
And then what flag can you put up and then all that? I mean, that's another, that potentially can be something else that comes to question, right?
Yeah, I think the way that we have the ordinance written, it would be limited to the like the American flag. So
Gabriel, what about, I know you mentioned there's no standard, but do we have any penalties in place? Like any corrective action or anything of that nature?
like if someone installed it without approval from the city, then it would be subject to code enforcement.
Yeah, and the code provides that anything that is built in violation of the zoning code is a public nuisance, and the city has remedies to abate the nuisance. And then, they can do it, and they can charge the property owner for it.
We right now we have limitations on height in all of our zones throughout the city, and so that could be, I don't know, and that's typically for buildings, right? So that wouldn't allow currently for oversized signs. I'm sorry, oversized flags. Losing the point I was going to make there, but as far as code enforcement goes, with someone was to do that today, someone could call code enforcement and have it removed, unless it was approved by the city. In the case for the FHC, that's approved. Schultz Steel, I'm assuming, I don't know how long that flag's been there, but I'm sure, yeah.
What about residential? I've
Res-
seen them at residential.
So
homes.
this would allow residents to put them up at a height of 35 feet. So if you want to create the restriction to not allow in residential neighborhoods, then this would be the time to mention that as well.
I think that's why I was posing that question to my colleagues. It's like, do we need flagpoles in our city, right? We already have 2 at both ends of our city, FHC and Schultz Steel. Is there value in having more flags? And if we open this up, you kind of touched on it. Now, okay, we don't have residential, but we can do certain businesses do it. I just think that it adds up significant work to staff that's already kind of taxed. Now you'd have to go through the whole process of like going and assessing that. Just my initial thoughts, right? I mean, maybe you open up a can of worms.
Well, there's a way to kind of word things, right? So that this standard sets the limit to 35 and then maybe somehow make anything less than 35 a case by case? Or is it something that we should be take into consideration whether or not, it can pose a hazard? I mean, those are definitely something.
Yeah, well, any evaluation of a flag, we try to make sure that it doesn't pose a hazard, and that's why they're going to require getting a building permit. But I guess what I'm hearing is that there might be a need to consider flagpoles, let's say under 35 feet, different in commercial areas versus in residential areas. Or I'm hearing like, maybe we just don't want it at all. We don't want a standard, we just want to identify it as prohibited, right? And either both for the oversized and maybe for the smaller flagpoles, right? But I would just, I think you're typically going to see flagpoles for city facilities, for some of the civic type of buildings. So I don't know if you want to allow for that in those facilities. But this,
And I would point out that the language you propose says anything up to 35 feet is subject to administrative approval. It's not ministerial approval. It's not something that has to be automatic approved. Your department still gets to review it and determine whether or not it's appropriate to have a flag of 35 or 30 or 25 feet. That also, it's not automatic approval. It's still subject to city oversight.
so I would say this is really up to you, and the council is going to look for your direction as the commission.
So do we need flagpoles in our city? That's the question. And if we do, then we need to go down this path, right? And if we don't, then it's a moot point. Or you could say no flagpoles, period, unless it's a property over 10 acres. Then it comes to the commission or to the council for approval.
Well, the council is going to have to approve the zone change, so just don't frame it so that if you want to say no flagpoles, don't frame it so that the council has to be seen as anti-American flag.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll never get that passed. It has to be content neutral, I would say.
I kind of like the idea of having something like that and need a permit because I do see, I mean, on my street alone, I could at least name one house that has a flagpole. And, you know, I know it's not hard to install a pole. I mean, it's probably just a fence pole anyway, but at the same time, I mean, who's to say it wasn't just stuck in the ground without concrete, foundation? So I wouldn't mind at least having it have to be permitted for that reason, for the safety concerns. I don't know about banning personally. I wouldn't call myself the most patriotic, but I also think I see the point and why somebody would be proud to have a flag, especially military people who, worked really hard for their citizenship. And so I wouldn't personally want to ban a flagpole on our residence.
So then the question comes up, is that okay, so you don't ban flagpoles, but then if residents want to have a flagpole, it has to be under a certain size and it can be another flag other than the American flag. Right? Because
Yeah,
if we talk
there's-
about,
there's- there's limitations.
Dodgers, sports teams. I mean, that's just the reality of it. Like, I mean, you just have to be real about our community and the diversity.
Yeah, yeah.
This was probably not one of the topics you thought there was going to be so much conversation.
I didn't.
about, right?
No, this was not the one.
Right? I just sorry, Gabriel.
All right. So thoughts on this language? It would just to wrap up.
I like it. If we can get a 5-minute bio break, that
Okay.
would be great.
Okay, sure. Well.
we're back.
Okay. Well, just to resume the conversation, just get some feedback on what was presented to the Planning Commission. Any recommendations based on the staff recommendations
For the flagpoles?
for the flagpole? Yes.
I will just reiterate my thoughts that I think I would lean more towards having to have a permit just for the safety aspect of it. I don't know if I would ban flagpoles just because, at least for me, a lot of people want to express themselves or whatever they like, and especially if they're military or patriotic for whatever reason.
And does that change between the small sign versus the oversized?
Yeah, I guess I
Flagpole?
would like anything less than 35 feet.
The preference is to keep it that level? 30
I
feet?
think, I don't know. I
Okay.
mean, maybe that's where that cutoff should be on what you would deem a monumental flagpole.
Any other thoughts from the rest of the commission?
Apply to residential or commercial?
Definitely up to you. The way that the ordinance is written, it allows it in commercial or residential zones. So do you care if it's,
Well-
if that type of flag being under 35 feet is in both zones, or you prefer to see in one or the other?
I guess if the purpose of this is to create safeguards and there hasn't been an influx of flagpoles as mentioned, then maybe it's a moot point, right? Like as long as you have some benchmarks in place, then you can address it on a case by case.
Do you have any recommendations on the oversized? Thoughts
35
on that?
feet is probably like, this is about what, 15
Taller than
feet?
this.
Yeah, about 15 feet, twice as high.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's similar to what we have out there in the front of the city. So that's about 35 feet, right?
Mhm.
Give or take. Would-
Mhm.
That's
But
fine.
more,
I'm
more the
okay
question
with
would
what-
be on the ones that exceed that. So there isn't an upward limit. So it's just case by case basis to however someone decides they want to do 50 feet or 100 feet. Do we want to allow for that?
I'd say that'd be like a case by case basis, like for example, how you have it there, the 10 acres. For example, like Schultz, how tall is that? How high is that?
That might be about like a 75-foot flag. Yeah.
Something like that, I would say a case by case, but I'm also on board with the permitting for the, what is it, 35
foot.
feet and under?
In the case by case. as
Case, yeah.
Okay.
Case by case.
Okay. All right. We got some direction there. Move on to the next slide. Thank you.
Switch it.
All right. So next is the administrative part of Title 11. Next slide. So we have an appeals section. Obviously, we heard an appeal today. One of the provisions I thought we should add to the appeals section is a call-up appeal procedure. And so what that means is that there's ability for different decision-making bodies in the city to be able to call up action of a previous decision-making body. So you're the appeal authority for a staff decision, administrative level decision. City council is the appeal authority for anything that went to the planning commission. So what this would do is identify no later than 10 days after a decision is made by the city, the planning commission or city council could call up an action to hear it on appeal. So instead of like someone from the public appealing that decision, it could be the planning commission or the city council deciding that you want to call it up or essentially appeal that decision. And that would be based on written direction from at least 2 members of the city council or planning commission, whichever is applicable. And as soon as we receive that written direction, staff, we would process that appeal in the same way that an applicant would file an appeal. So I think this is good language. What we don't really have, so we make a lot of administrative decisions at the staff level, but there's no way that, I would say there's no way to be informed as a planning commission or a council decisions that we make. So what this would require for us it's going to take some time for us to do this, is to make an avenue for us to inform you of those decisions that we make, to allow you the opportunity to decide if you want to call it up to the Planning Commission. So at the administrative level, to call up the decisions, I say it's a little bit more difficult. More work for us to do to make that available. Maybe it has to be at the end of the agenda where we inform you of the decisions that are made. I've seen other cities advertise those decisions on the website. The Planning Commission or Council could review that and determine if they want to call up an action. But an appeal probably isn't something that, my opinion, shouldn't happen all the time. But there could be reasons why that's warranted, right? And especially if it goes contrary to what a decision-making body that's above either staff or above Planning Commission, being the council, they might want to have the opportunity to do that. So,
Would you mind giving an example of that? I mean, we just went through something here, right? Like, what would that look like with, say, the applicant? Like, okay, so they submit something, it gets denied, right?
Yeah.
By staff. What would happen after that? Like, how does that play into this? Is this a part of what you're kind of?
I'll separate. Well, go ahead.
Sorry,
I think you might have a good idea.
I was going to say it would probably be the opposite. Because the applicant has an incentive to appeal directly. I think this might be more the case if the four of you had overturned the director's decision, and a few council members might think, wait, we've already got too many laundromats. I don't like the way this is going. And they would call that up so that they could hear an appeal of the decision that you guys rendered. I mean, there could be others, but I think it's probably more of a case where the city council is interested, or maybe this body, if it's a staff level decision.
The case of today with the laundromat, so they could appeal the decision up to the city council, but we haven't created procedures that allow for a council to decide to take the action on their own. So it could be two council members to be like, hey, I want to actually take up that appeal without the applicant making that request, and allow them the opportunity to reconsider it. The reason why I presented this is more on the staff level. So if we made a decision that we approved, so let's say maybe it was a sign, right? You mentioned that signs are approved at staff level, but maybe we think it's a good approval, but the Planning Commission became aware of it and we're like, hey, we really want to reconsider that sign. It would allow you the opportunity to be able to call that decision up. Right now, you have no idea what we're approving because there's no avenue for us to be able to convey those decisions to you today. So it would just require us to be able to create that avenue to you. And we'd make that available to the public as well.
So would this apply to something like the fencing on Mr. C's property on Radio?
Yeah, so in that case, there was a planning case that we created, approved administratively, but the Planning Commission didn't like the wall or the improvements around it. That could have been called up by the Planning Commission.
So if I'm hearing it correctly, so that would allow this, well, we'll just focus on this, right, Greg? So it would allow this body to potentially, for lack of a better word, question a decision that's made by staff, right? So then would come to us, right? Could we be able to call it? Then there's already a measure where if we don't agree, or if this body makes a decision, the applicant would have the ability to go through the appeal process and get it to the city council, right?
Yeah.
So that's already, but you're saying that the applicant would not need to put in an appeal. The council would then be able to say, no, we want to call for that appeal without having the applicant go through that process. Am I hearing?
And there should already be a way for the city council to be able to do that because they're an appeal authority, but it's not really clear in the code. So what we want to do is make that clear. Like a lot of cities have that language, so it is more clear. But I would say because you're an appeal body for decisions that we make at the staff level, like it doesn't work. There's no way for you to, how are you going to know what we decide on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's also maybe allows for a higher level of transparency. So if we can create that avenue for you to be informed about those decisions, the public's also aware of it too, right? So how are you going to be able to appeal that, or even the public, right? The public is also not informed of those decisions that we're making, right? So it's going to take some work for us to figure out how we can make that information available.
And I would just, when you're crafting how you're going to do this, I think it would have to be your own individual decisions. You know, the two of you would independently have to notify whoever gets notified that you want to call it up, but you couldn't start calling around each other and say, I want to call this up. Do you want to, because now you're violating the Brown Act. So make sure that it's just, you know, a single, not a group decision, just 5 individual decisions.
Yeah.
And that would be my follow-up to that is just, you know, related to the public. It has happened where they have had concerns and they have their own process to bring up an appeal independent of the applicant. Would this also be an avenue for them to come to us to go through the appeal? Would that work, or would that be prohibited?
I don't know what Craig's thoughts on it. It really should be more of an avenue you're taking your independent judgment. It really shouldn't be a workaround for someone from the public to go through you to make that happen. It should really be like you have a conviction about the decision that was made and you think it's worthy of an appeal.
Because members of the public can already directly appeal. You know, we had the competing owner of the laundromat there. Had you approved the laundromat tonight, she would have had the right to appeal that decision to the city council.
Do they have to pay for that, or?
Yeah, there's an appeal fee.
Yeah, that's why I was asking if that would be how that would be considered if they do reach out to us, you know, once this passes to bypass that.
I mean, yeah, I would say it could be abused that way. Like, I would just say that's more of a way to abuse the system, right? But the call up procedures, there wouldn't be a fee for you to call it up.
You know,
So-
just to add to that is, I see, once again, I see the value in it being called up, but I do believe that that process of it going to the planning commission, then going to the city council, there's value in that process, as opposed to if city council members want to pull or, you know, question a decision that's been made, it circumvents the planning commission and goes straight to the city council, right? So as long as the channels are still kind of followed, I think for me, I think that adds value to any commission, whether it's a Rec and Park Commission, whether it's a planning commission. I think we all play a role. We all bring value to that. That would be my only hesitation with having, clearly the council always have the overarching authority to pull whatever they want, but I would hate to see this.
I don't think that's what you're proposing. I don't think it's a way for the councils to leapfrog over you guys. I think it's the same appeal process. It's first staff, then you, then the city council. He's allowing the city council to reach down and call up your decisions, not Gabriel's to bypass you guys.
That's great clarity.
And I can make that a little bit more clear because that's the intent. Yeah.
I have a question. Would we still follow the same protocols where if something would be called up, will we still put out like a public notice, like for a public hearing? Would the public still know about it?
I remember, would we still require? We probably would, right?
It's a public hearing, so you'd still have to follow the
Yeah.
same notice. It's just, like, right now, I think in certain circumstances, can the city manager call up matters right now? I think
haven't-
regardless of who initiates the appeal, it's still a hearing and you're still going to have to follow state law and the city ordinances and do the same notices so that anybody interested can come to the hearing and express their views to the decision makers.
Okay. All right. That's good feedback there. Next. All right. So can you go back one? We skipped one. All right. The CUP process. So we do have standards for conditional use permits in the city. But what I realized is that there's no language about when a CUP expires. So we end up adding it through the conditions of approval. That's really not the best way to go. It's really best if there's a standard that's identified in the code, and most cities do that. So the recommended change that I would propose is that there be a 2-year expiration. So after the CUP is approved, that it would expire after 2 years. Unless prior to the expiration of 2 years, a building permit is issued and construction is commenced or diligently pursued towards completion, or a certificate of occupancy is issued. And that's common language for a lot of cities. In this case, I'm recommending 2 years because I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done, especially if it's a project that involves construction, to get the design work, the construction done. If it's 1 year, like you're just barely getting that done, and then you already have an expired conditional use permit. So I think it provides flexibility for anyone requesting a CUP, but it's not too long, right? After 2 years. After 2 years, what I'm recommending that they could request 1-year time extensions that would need to come back to Planning Commission, and then you could decide if those extensions are warranted. At the same time, you could also decide to add additional languages, conditions, or amend the condition language. Any thoughts on that?
Any comments?
I have a question. What happens if it expires?
If it expires, they have to start all over again and from an application through the city and go back to the Planning Commission.
And then the additional fees as well?
Additional fees, yeah.
Okay.
Start all over.
I feel like, at least from my experience reviewing CUPs, I feel like a lot of them are usually 3 years now. Or isn't
What is our condition language is what, 2 years? Isn't it 1 year? It's 1 year right now.
oh, it's 1 year right now?
Yeah. So I just, it'd be interesting to hear. John's been here a lot longer than me, but typically we don't see projects being able to get finalized in a year.
Yeah, I like that language just because it can take very long. But I guess I could see this. I do like the 1-year extension language and the ability to put additional stipulations. Is this something that will apply to all CUPs, or is just future applicants?
Yeah, to all CUPs, any active CUPs, I guess, could be applied the 1-year extensions, right? If
Yeah,
they were subject to expire.
Right now, there is a provision in the municipal code that says any permit issued by the city expires within a year if the property is not being used for the purpose of the permit within that first year. So as it stands right now, you get a CUP and it automatically expires in a year. And as you are all pointing out, that may not be realistic for a lot of CUPs. So we may want to adjust what the code says.
So what kind of teeth would this have, just given that I know we have Amazon that's been on a CUP for like years? How does that fall
Well,
into?
they've started using the CUP. So the CUP is in effect. It's not, this is a situation where, you issue a CUP to operate a restaurant, a year goes by and you haven't operated a restaurant, the CUP expires. We had that situation with the Starbucks on, where Starbucks kind of backed out and the year came and went and there was no Starbucks. So if they want to do something similar, they have to start all over.
So
What about following up on existing CUPs on whether, is that something that is routinely done? Or CUPs that haven't expired? To make
what
sure
do
that
you
they're
mean?
following.
Yeah, I know that the Plan Commission has added conditions to come back after 6 months, so it's already in the conditions to be able to do that. This doesn't do that.
Oh,
at all,
okay.
right? So it would be up to the city Planning Commission to add that condition, right? And I think you kind of want to do that on a case-by-case basis, and I've seen the commission do that for alcohol sales, right? Where
Yeah.
there's maybe a potential impact there. That would make sense, but if it was for drive-through, I'm not sure if that would be impacts are significant as alcohol.
Yeah.
So.
No, I'm only wondering because of old CUPs that maybe their property use has changed. And I don't know, just seeing how poorly written they might have been in the past. I don't know if there would be any way to remediate that.
Oh, from the ability to amend conditions, maybe? You're
Yeah,
thinking?
or fix conditions.
No, if it's active CUP. But I'm thinking there might be the ability if you have let's say you have a CUP that was approved this past year, right? And it was about to expire. I'm assuming under this provision, if it was adopted, they would be eligible for an extension. And then
Mhm.
at that time, you could amend their conditions.
Got it. Any other questions? No? Comments?
Okay.
No?
Thank you. All right. Just want to communicate this. This isn't necessarily something that would go directly to the Planning Commission because it's in Title 8. But it is a concern that's come up to us on Rio Avenue in particular, where there's oversized vehicles for towing or warehouse uses that are kind of queuing on the street that create hazards. So we're recommending some language in our oversized vehicle parking regulations to prohibit these vehicles from stopping or queuing in active travel lanes. So we don't have that language right now. We want to give our code enforcement and the police the tools to be able to enforce that on Rio Avenue because it is a challenge. So something that this wouldn't go back to Planning Commission. This would go directly to council, but just want to identify that issue that's come up and there's a need to address it.
I think as somebody who's been involved with the Air Quality Management District AB 617 group, this is definitely something that we've talked about, and even locally when I steer the CHAT, the Community Environmental Health Action Team, was just that importance of trucks adhering to idling, no idling. There are laws around it. When we did bring it up to the city, there were questions about enforcing it. So I think if there's any way to connect you guys with some of the AQMD staff so that maybe we can have language that aligns with what is already mandated by the state, I think that would be helpful because there's definitely, we've done surveys around the city and seen, trucks, not just in that area, but, I've witnessed it on the industrial place side of town and on the Alameda side of town and just, in random places. And so I think it's definitely something that we it would be great to align with at the state level so that it can be enforced.
Yeah, please share that
We
with
already
me.
have the no idling signs throughout the city too.
Mhm. Yeah. So, but this was some additional teeth that we thought would be helpful for the
Yeah.
code. So, but please do share that because I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah, no, I'll be happy to connect you with one of our liaisons there.
Okay, great. But just another one in Title 12, which is not our zoning, but we're recommending these changes. Planning does get involved with lot line adjustment, and so a lot line adjustment is when you have two parcels and the lot line between the two is amended. So it's done through what's called a lot line adjustment, and that's typically an administrative action in most cities. In our code, it requires approval by the Planning Commission. So I actually think it requires more cost and time for residents in the city to be able to make a lot line adjustment. Other cities, it's really easy because it's more administrative and it's handled through the public works or the engineering division. So I looked at the other cities: Norwalk, Long Beach, Hawthorne, Linwood, Paramount, Downey, Bellflower, all allow lot line adjustments without approval by the Planning Commission. So that's one of our recommendations, but because it is the Planning Commission that is in the code to approve this, I would just recommend that we amend it. It's not required under state law. And so for some reason, we decided to add that extra layer. I would just want to make that an easier process for our residents.
And in connection with SB 9 lot splits, you're not allowed to prohibit it if it meets the SB 9 requirements.
Yeah, and if you don't know what SB 9 is, that's a state law that allows residential lots to be able to split their property into two without to do it ministerially, right? It's an administrative approval, doesn't require planning commission review. So there are some of that's already allowed at the administrative level. This would just allow all lot line adjustments at the administrative level. Any thoughts on that? To me, it just makes a lot of sense to do that.
You know, if there is a change to what the current process, I think it would just, as you mentioned, just for transparency, it would be good maybe as you have like your report outs, if there's anything of substantial size that goes through this process that's actually brought up to the commission as more a report out than it is a decision making.
Okay. Good enough. Okay. And then last is, this is also a different title, but something that might be of interest to the Planning Commission. So this is a chapter 9.47, maintenance and rehabilitation of vacant and neglected buildings. And I'll give it a reason why this came up. So there's different abandoned buildings throughout the city, even in residential neighborhoods, that might be boarded up or have fencing around it. And you don't see anything happening with those buildings. And, I was curious, what can we do about these abandoned buildings or vacant? To be like no action on it. And so the only thing that's done is board up windows and fencing. And that's been our reaction to a lot of these buildings. And the feedback that I received from code is that we don't have anything in the code that requires anything more than that. So after a conversation by a contract code enforcement supervisor that we had recently, he had some language that he used in the city of Riverside, which were to create some more teeth for the city to ensure that vacant or neglected buildings aren't left in that way for a long time. And so the way that they've defined it is that buildings or structures left vacant for more than 180 days would be considered nuisances unless it met these three requirements. So either they were subject to an active building permit for repair or rehab, that the property or building is actively being offered for sale, lease, or rent, or that the building is actively maintained and monitored, including removal of all perimeter security fencing and windows, boards, and maintaining the exterior free of junk, trash, and debris. So I think this last one is going to be helpful because right now we just kind of allow people to keep their window boards up forever and security fencing. And I think that doesn't really incentivize the property owner to do anything with the property. So this would provide more teeth to the city to be able to designate those buildings as a vacant and neglected building and a nuisance. Any thoughts on that? This would go directly to council because it's outside of Title 11, but because it's a quality of life issue, I thought it would be good to get your thoughts on this language. But I think it's a good thing for us to have.
I agree. My only question is how does this differentiate from, or I guess is whether we already have existing regulations that mandate for property maintenance. I thought I've heard of that before where people get cited for not maintaining their properties. And I get that maybe some of these properties are currently in use.
Well, yeah. So some of these that are abandoned, there's no one living there. They're fenced, boards are put up, the landscape's maintained, right? Because
So
they're
the
trying to.
landscape's still
Yeah.
maintained.
The issue is that you just have security fencing that's there forever. Windows
Oh.
are boarded up. So we want to try to address that situation because if the landowner doesn't want to do anything with the property, they just leave it like that, right? And there's nothing we can do about it. This gives us the teeth to identify that after 180 days, unless it's meeting any of these three, criteria, then it's considered a nuisance.
And then they get cited.
Yes.
Is this specifically for residential areas or also for business corridors?
Business corridors as well. Yeah. So all properties.
But only if these properties have buildings.
Or storefronts?
Yeah, if they have buildings, yeah.
So it wouldn't apply to something like the property on Tweedy and Atlantic that's vacant?
No, but we are looking at some. Javier's looking at this right now. So we are looking at, based on examples of other cities, like a vacant lot inventory or abandoned lot inventory. A lot of other cities do this as a way to ensure that they're cleaned up and they're maintained and then they're registered with the city. So that is something that we might bring back to the Planning Commission in the future.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting, and I could also foresee it being tricky because I know that some of these sites are potentially contaminated. So I think it would be good to keep track of the reasoning and whether that is a reasoning, because I know that there has been grants that the city has been trying to get some of these properties going. And if that is the case,
That's-
and I don't remember if that Atlantic property falls within the list
I
of
don't-
possible brownfields or anything like that.
That site I'm not aware of. I don't think it is.
I don't think
But what you mentioned is something good for us to consider. That could be a reason why you can't do anything with the property. It's going to take you a long time to do anything. So if you're considered a nuisance, you're kind of stuck in this position where, like, it's going to be very difficult for you to do something about the property unless you had the funds to do it, right? Sometimes the remediation is $1 million, right? So I think we should kind of factor that into how we might do a vacant lot inventory.
Yeah, because that might be good to keep track of. Like I said, I know that Sandra was working on a list of vacant properties that need remediation for that reason, because there is state funding available or federal funds available to clean it up and, get
Yeah.
something going. And that'll be a benefit to everybody
Mhm.
for sure.
Yeah, no, good.
But
good
I like
feedback.
this. I like that. I had a neighbor who abandoned their house for like 10 years, and somebody just randomly found the owner and bought the house. But I always wondered, like, why just leave a house like that where squatters just come in?
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
makes no sense.
Definitely. And that's it. So thank you for your patience on this. We got through a lot, but what we'll do from here is, there's a need to do some outreach with the business community, also with residents, and so it's going to take some time to do that. Eventually, you'll see something come back to you officially as the Planning Commission and then to City Council. But I do want to mention, I think there is someone that wanted to speak on this topic.
Yeah, I think that's the least we can do is give you the podium. If you could introduce yourself, please.
Slide 1.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll start over. I've got 15 pages here to run through. No. I'm Jake Wofford. I'm Vice President of Operations for JB Hunt. I lead our West Region operations out here. 15 years in Southgate, so my home office is at our Southgate facility. And yeah, thank you all for letting me go 4 hours in. I got a lot of appreciation for what you do that I had no visibility to before. So I've flip-flopped like 15 times on the laundromat thing. So good luck. Good luck with that. Yeah, I wanted to talk about the proposed zoning code update, its potential impact on JB Hunt and our plans in the city. And I'll just summarize up front. And Gabrielle mentioned this, but we'd like to request for the commissioners and staff to include language in the proposed zoning code to protect projects such as ours that are already really far along in the path. We started this process in 2023. We're now in 2026. It would be, I think, a pretty chilling effect for business if a project 3 years into the future could get denied because of a change in the code. So just a little bit of background on who we are and what we do. JB Hunt's a really large, best-in-class transportation logistics provider, widely recognized as one of the best companies to work for and to work with in the U.S. In Southgate, this has been our home for 40 years, or just, I think, 39 years as of right now. We're getting close. Really proud to have been a part of this community for that long. Today, we employ 600 people at that facility. It's a bunch of truck drivers, but it's also dispatchers, driver managers, logistics planners, there's maintenance personnel, engineers, human resources, company leadership, a lot of folks at that really small office that we've been at for a long time. And what we want to do, we in 2023 purchased the property across the street from us. It was the Blue Diamond asphalt plant, and so we have two major parts of our development project we're working on. One is to improve our existing property. It's on the south side of Southern Avenue. We want to build a new office building we'll keep the office building we have right now and expand that so that we can bring in more of the office roles that we have scattered around Southern California. We also want to improve the ingress egress so we can get our trucks off the road faster, improve lighting, and everything else that we've worked with John and some of the other folks in Southgate on. So that's one part of the project. In order to make space for that, because it takes up valuable real estate, the second part of the project is the property we purchased across the street. It used to be the asphalt manufacturing plant. It's right now just a big open dirt lot. What we wanted to do there was use that to expand our current operations a little bit, but mostly to consolidate what we use across the city today. So right now we have other leases in the city where we park trailing equipment, third parties we go through that just have space to park trailing equipment. Essentially, we outgrew the property we were on a decade plus ago. And so because we can't park all the trailers we want on our yard, we've had to proliferate into the city, which has made traffic situations worse. So we want to improve that traffic situation, consolidate our operations, and improve and build what functionally is a West Coast headquarters for us. The project already moving forward. We've met with staff multiple times. We've had the public scoping meeting for the environmental review at the end of October. But again, our concern is that this change in the code could force us to abandon the project. Am I out of time?
I personally feel bad because you have waited for 4 hours, but if you could wrap it up soon.
There doesn't seem to be anyone else waiting, so it's at your discretion if you want to hear more.
Do you guys agree? If we could just give them a few more minutes.
I can be done in like 2 minutes. So just again, it's something I want to highlight. I believe the intent of the change would be to fix issues with some of the fly-by-night trucking operators from out of the area, out of the city, out of the state. I just want to highlight that's not us. Our employees are company employees. They have full benefits. They are your neighbors and residents in Southgate and all around here. They're local jobs predominantly, which means they're not truck drivers that are gone for days, weeks, months at a time. They live here. They come home every night. They can have families and do all of that. So it's a little bit different from a lot of the other trucking operations you see out here. In addition to that, our safety record's outstanding. We're seen as a best-in-class provider in a lot of fronts, but especially safety. Trucks are well maintained. The average truck is less than 3 years old, so they're not breaking down. They're not the really, really bad polluters that you see around. They're not as loud as other trucks. So we feel like we're what were they called? The Aqua Loop or whatever the laundromat was. We're the Aqua Loop of the trucking industry, right? Like we see ourselves as a really high quality participant. So again, we've tried as much as we can throughout this process to address any concerns from the city. Last thing I'll highlight is just that we think this project has benefits to the community. We think we'll drive out over 1,500 truck miles per year in the city, because the day I can use the project across the street is the day I'll stop using every other yard in Southgate and have one consolidated place. That drives out miles. We also think it'll improve the blighted site across the street from us, which used to be the asphalt plant that spread dust from projects all over the city and then would crush aggregate from these projects and then use that to turn to asphalt, and dump trucks were coming in and out. That's gone. Now it's the empty spot. What we want it to be is a beautiful, modern terminal for us. And then I guess, the last point I would make is just if we were unable to proceed with the project due to this zoning code update, I don't know what we do. I guess we have to try to sell it. It's zoned M3. I think you mentioned M2 earlier. It's zoned M3, so I don't know who the other participant would be, but they might not be someone like a JB Hunt that come in there. So anyways, that's just to wrap it all up. Want to request one last time, commissioners and staff include language in the proposed zoning code to protect projects like ours that are in an advanced stage of the approval process and have been designed to address the concerns from the city. Thank you all.
Thank you. Any written comments?
No written comments.
Thanks. Thanks again for everybody's participation on this. Yeah, I guess we'll just wait on the follow-up to this presentation. So moving on to comments, any audience comments? Anything not related to the agenda? No? All
I
right.
think we have to receive and file the
Oh,
presentation that Gabriel gave.
oh, that's right. Sorry about that.
And then
Can I
we
get a
can do the
motion?
comments.
Yeah, can I get a motion to receive and file the presentation?
Sure, I'll motion that.
A second?
I'll second.
Roll call?
Commissioner Valenzuela,
Yes.
Commissioner Ostaeta,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Prieto,
Yes.
and Chairperson Ruiz.
Yes.
The motion passes.
All right, now on to audience comments. Anything written in? No?
There's written comments that Mr. Dominguez had submitted for the March 17 meeting. And we didn't get them, so we're going to read them now. So one of his comments was public comment for Planning Commission meeting March 17, just regular audience comments. He says, I want to bring the commissioner's attention that 2 city council meetings ago, the council approved spending $15,000 for plans and designs to renovate the abandoned courthouse funded by the Gateway Cities COG. I am concerned about how the city will fund construction after the plans are completed, especially given our financial crisis. Spending on a project of this scale without a clear funding plan is a critical error. Our council has already spent $2,231,473 from the general fund reserves for fiscal year 2025-26, more than they should, and the fiscal year isn't even over. Even in a financial crisis, they continue to spend recklessly with no thought for long-term consequences. With this track record, I worry about the future of our city finances. And then on a separate, for open sessions, items A of the same March 17 meeting. For item A, he says, I urge our commissioners to do the following. Number 1, do not restrict marijuana sales, cultivation, or manufacturing in our city. Instead, pass a cannabis tax to generate much-needed revenue. Marijuana is legal in California, and people are already using it locally. Our city should benefit from it. Allow zoning for cannabis development. Number 2, allow neon signs in Southgate's municipal code. Neon is a classic, visually appealing medium that's disappearing as cities favor LED and digital signs help preserve cool, iconic neon in our city. That's it.
Thank you. On to city staff comments.
Thank you again, Plan Commission. One thing I did want to mention and highlight next week at the City Council meeting on April 14th, I will be presenting some of the budget impacts to our department, community development. Obviously, we know that the UT measure wasn't put on the ballot. But the impacts of that would be for the current budget cycle is that there's going to be potential layoffs and other budget cuts. So that's going to impact some of the work that we do. You're going to see more of me in terms of typically what would happen. The director wouldn't be presenting a lot of the cases that are coming. It's going to require me to do a little bit more of that. We have lost a couple of staff. We haven't been able to replace Rodrigo's position. He was a senior planner, and then we did recently lose our assistant planner, Yesenia Hernandez. So that's unfortunate because they were very good employees with our division. So just what I'm going to do next week is present what those impacts would be in terms of customer service. and then allow the council to see, you know, just to confirm the cuts that we're proposing in this upcoming budget. So
Will we be able to hire back those positions, or are we losing them?
we would lose the positions, but the only way that would be rehired if there was ever like a U tax in the future, right? But because that's not guaranteed, it would be cutting those positions. There still might be a way to be able to preserve the assistant planner position, you know, in the city. So we're just trying to look for opportunities to have other savings if we can do that. But there are going to be cuts that are going to be required. So the community development department cuts that we were requested to make was $1.1 million. So, you know, obviously we're trying to make those reductions the least impactful on the services that we deliver to the public, and that's still our intention.
Thank you.
And that's about it. I did want to mention one of the comments that Mr. Dominguez mentioned about the funding for design work, and this relates to the old courthouse building. I'm a little bit involved with that. So we did receive some grant support from the Gateway Cities COG in the amount of $15,000. That's money that's not coming out of the general fund to be able to fund design work for the potential use of the courthouse as a community resilience center. There is a grant that's available from the state of California called the Community Resilience Center grant that comes from the Strategic Growth Council. And what that does is the Community Resilience Center is a facility that could be used in case of emergencies. So for example, like floods, earthquakes, fires, a place where the community could go. But because emergencies don't happen all the time, the focus of that grant is also to fund other activities that could be a benefit to the public. I know in the past, the city has been trying to repurpose the courthouse in the past, but there was never enough money for us to be able to do that work. But the other concern is operations, right? So what are they going to cost to operate the facility? This has been a grant that I received in my previous job in Coachella. We were able to receive $10 million. I think we have the ability to receive $10 million to rehab that building. That's how much it's going to cost. But at the same time, be able to look at opportunities for a public-private partnership to be able to operate that facility in the future. So I think the intention is to ensure that whatever it's going to take to rehab the courthouse and to operate it, is the intent is for that to not to fall on the taxpayer and come out of the general fund. So just want to give you an update so you understand what we're doing there.
Thank you. Any planning commission comments?
I just wanted to say thank you to staff. Thank you for this part 2 of our study session. A lot of great information and good feedback from everyone. So thank you to staff.
Yeah, thank you for including us in the process. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I agree with my colleagues and really want to thank you all for all your work. And I appreciate you mentioning some of the effects of the budget cuts. You know, unfortunately, we weren't able to decide as a community whether or not we could, we would be willing to pay our part and contribute through the UUT. And I know how hard it is to be in, you know, going through cuts. I went through something similar in 2008 when I worked for the state, and you know, I was already working 2 other jobs at the same time while I was going to college, and you know, people depend on these jobs, and I know it's really hard, and but I also understand why people would look for jobs elsewhere. But you know, it's very unfortunate for us because we are losing a lot of good staff. My baby's swim instructor told us that he's also leaving the city, and he's been employee of the year a couple of times because he's just an awesome swim instructor, you know, Marco. And it's a shame, you know, this was foreseeable. And I think that, you know, we all are really losing a lot of valuable staff, a lot of valuable knowledge, a lot of hardworking folks, and those are the first people to leave because, you know, people see the value, other cities see the value of them. And so we're losing more than you know, than we know, and it's just the beginning. So I really do encourage my colleagues here to make use of this opportunity we have as planning commissioners to really speak to you. And I appreciate and would hope that you guys keep us posted with the effects of not being able to vote on the UUT, because, you know, we are already seeing these effects, and it's very unfortunate. But I also appreciate your work. I know it's going to be a lot more on your plate. And, you know, if there's anything we could do to help, if there's anything I can do to help, please don't hesitate to ask. But yeah, any other comments? No. With that, I'll adjourn this meeting at 10:26.